I got caught up in the excitement, and then I got caught up in the money, and then I got caught up in the power. Don't give me a hard time. I'm gonna rearrange your world. Yeah, life in Colombia, it's worth less than a Coca-Cola. I didn't set in this thing to kill people. Did I hurt people? I've hurt a few people along the way that I beat to a pulp. Go ahead and shoot me. I'm gonna show you how a man dies. I said, but buddy, I'm gonna see you again. I'll be in hell waiting for you.
TJ Dominguez is the biggest drug trafficker I've spoken with on this podcast. He was Pablo Escobar's most invaluable cocaine pilot for almost a decade during the 1980s. Pablo had many pilots, but TJ was the only one to become a drug lord himself. He had a vertically integrated organization, meaning he controlled the cocaine from its origin in Colombia all the way to its distribution on the streets of Miami. He had teams of workers flying the cocaine into the Bahamas, more workers to smuggle it on speedboats into South Florida, and then a network of distributors who moved the product all over the United States. He owned hundreds of mansions along the coast of Florida, ran the most successful Ferrari dealership in the world, and laundered tens of millions of dollars a year through shady Swiss bankers and Hasidic diamond dealers in New York City. His life literally was Scarface meets Miami Vice. A true boss. There's an amazing podcast series on TJ's life called Cocaine Air, available now wherever you get your podcasts. I listened to it in one sitting. It's that good. Make sure you check it out. And for a bonus episode with TJ, where he talks about his relationship with Pablo Escobar and gives never before heard secrets of the Medellin Cartel, head over to patreon.com/The Connect Show. I don't know how we're going to top this one, you guys. There will never be another like him. TJ Dominguez, right here on The Connect with Johnny Mitchell.
I was forced to know a lot about Cuba because my father pounded it on my head. You know, I don't know Cuba. I was born in Cuba, but hell, I left when I was a baby. So, and my mom said, as long as communism's on that island, we don't put a foot back in that island. Yeah. So I've never gone back.
Wow. Staunchly anti-communist, anti-Castro, as most of the Cubans who came to Miami were at the time.
Yeah.
We've spoken to a lot of drug traffickers, drug kingpins, what have you, whatever kind of label you want to put on it.
Right.
You, TJ, are the only one who managed to be vertically integrated, meaning you had the Colombian price and you got the blow all the way from there to the streets of Miami. You flew it in, you boated it in, and then you sold it to customers.
Right. And also, let me also add that in the transporting trade, it was really amazing. You know, I've actually laughed at some people because, okay, let's say you're going to fly, but whatever, you want to bring some cocaine. So you say, well, I don't have an airplane. So we need a pilot, we need an airplane. Well, I know a guy's got an airplane. So we go see this guy. So the guy goes, well, how much am I going to make? Well, you're going to make X amount. Okay, fine. I'll put my airplane in there. But I'm not flying the plane.
Right.
My balls, I'll lose the plane. Well, I don't want to go to jail. Okay, well, we need a pilot. Well, hell, I know a pilot that maybe will do it. So now you go see that guy. That guy goes, I'm not going to do that, but I know another guy that might. Yeah. So now you have 20 people involved in this.
Right.
It's just one little airplane.
It's like when you're building a house, everybody's subcontracting the workout. So even when you, at your height, when you owned hundreds of homes, Ferrari dealerships, you were making $5, $6, $10 million a run.
Right.
You were still hands-on.
I've always been hands-on. And this going back to what I said before, where I was going with this, is that I own my airplanes. I flew the airplane. I jumped off the airplane. I jumped on the boat. I took the boat, brought it in, climbed off the boat, jumped in the car, drove it to the Colombian's house and said, you owe me $5 million. How much you got in there? $500. Where's the rest? Where's my money?
Yeah.
I'm not chasing Pablo Escobar for my cash. Not happening.
You negotiated with Pablo Escobar.
Yes, I did.
He said, the most we can pay is $3,500 a key.
That's what they were paying.
And you said
25.
And you said, nah, that's not going to work.
No, it's not going to work for me. Well, look, the way I looked at it, in my own little world, I am Pablo. You guys asked me to come here. I'm making $1 million a week. How bad is that? And I don't have to deal with all this you know?
Yeah, in 1981.
Yeah, man, that was like, what,
like-
3, 4, 5 times that,
Yeah.
you know, now, at least 3 times.
But I think Pablo respected that. Like, even though he was known to kill people for
Yeah.
his pride or whatever, I
Right,
think
right.
he respected like real business people
Oh, yeah.
coming to him with like logical business propositions.
And that's what I used. I used logic. My argument was based on logic. And then, you know, it was also based on a little bit of arrogance on my part that I had to play that role, let them know.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, I said this once or twice before. I think I said it to Jonathan. I don't like repeating it, but at the time I needed to be said, you know, hey, look us for the church, man. I'm a pro.
Yeah.
These guys that you're out there, you're having to chase these guys and shoot them. You know, they disappear with your product. I'm not in that category. You know, I'm not going to fail.
Yeah.
And if I don't come back, it's because I'm either dead or I'm in jail. You'll be able to read about it in the paper.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can come back, I'll explain to you what happened.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to hide. I'm not that type of individual. I'm a pro.
And part of the reason that they had to kill so many people is because if you know Latinos and the way that Colombians do business, the way most people do business in the drug trade is bad business. People
Yeah.
running off, people up.
Yeah, but Johnny, let me just say this to you, man. And I've said in a lot of business meetings, okay, I was the biggest cell phone company in South Florida, the biggest beeper company in South Florida. You know, I was the #1 Lamborghini dealer of the world. I was buying the Jefferson Banks. It was under contract when I got popped by myself. I had 12 companies. I have a successful construction company. And the reason why I'm giving you just a little bit of this tidbit, I've sat in a lot of meetings, a lot of business meetings with legitimate people. There's more honesty sitting down with a guy like Pablo than with 10 lawyers, because they're all a bunch of scammers. They'll say whatever needs to be said. They'll, you know, move the comma over here, you know, not dot the I over there. And why? Because in the world that I was in, you mess up, we're holding you responsible.
Death is promised.
Yeah, promised.
So you kind of
Delivered.
know what you're getting.
And you're lucky if they just kill you. Because a lot of those guys back in those days, they'll come in here, they'll shoot your wife, your mother, the cat, the dog, and you to set an example. I was in a meeting with a guy, Colombian guy in Colombia, Luis Dangon. I'm going to say his last name. He's still alive. And just real quick, we're sitting around drinking Heineken, and one of the guys comes out and goes, Patron. And he goes, wow, what? He goes, we had a problem. You know, the boat that was coming in, 500 keys or something like that. He goes, yeah, what about it? He goes, the guy had a heart attack. They had to dump the product, and they called the Coast Guard. Luis is sitting there with me drinking. He goes, what? Dump the product? You mean my product? They threw it in the water? He goes, yeah, because they had to call the Coast Guard. The guy was dying. So what happened? Well, they took the guy to the hospital. The guy's in the hospital. So Luis goes, you mean he didn't die? And he goes, no, he's in the hospital. Luis, I don't even know the guy, right? I'm just drinking a beer like you and I are now. He goes, find out what hospital he's in. As soon as he gets out, shoot him. I said, wait a second, Luis. Why would you shoot your boat captain?
Yeah.
He goes, Tito. So the next one that comes up behind him doesn't get a heart attack.
Right.
The message that these guys
For sure.
And that's happened to me, where people had tried to get creative and steal a boat from me. I didn't shoot anybody.
Was Pablo your main plug, or did you also deal with other connects down there? Because obviously there were plenty of drug traffickers out of Medellin at the time.
Yeah, I started out with Luis, the guy that put the order in to kill that boat captain. I started with him, and then, you know, palling around with him. He was not a Pablo, but he was in his own right a big guy. There was a lot of big guys that never made it to the news, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, guys that never even made it to the news, guys that are like in politics, you know, guy that we clap when we see him walking in, even here.
For sure.
I could tell you some real serious people that are.
Yeah, you will. Hopefully.
No, I won't.
Patreon. Patreon.com/TheConnectShow. Okay, so would Pablo, if you had to go to other sources?
No, I didn't go to other sources because I got approached by a lot of other guys.
Right.
I'm at a party. Pablo is there. A lot of heavyweights are there. And I've now got a big reputation as the go-to guy that I never lost a trip of cocaine. So that's really rare. You know? So I'm the go-to guy. I was sitting there drinking beer and blah, blah. And they got a cockfight ring going on. By the way, they're betting like, give me a 500 to 1 on this. $500,000. They're paying like millions of dollars on a chicken, just stupid
Wow.
stuff like that. I'm like,
Wow.
well, pieces of paper. Yeah, I'll go 2 on that. It's just stupid money. So I had a guy, and this happened often. As often as I was down there.
Right.
I try not to be down there too much because
Yeah.
I'm already bringing in the coke.
Right.
So I don't want to associate myself
Right.
with that. Matter of fact, I did all the cars for Miami Vice. And they were always trying to write me into a script. I'm like, no, I don't really want to. Come on, I'm in my 20s, right?
Yeah.
You're a stud, blah, 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 blah. We'll write in no, I don't want it, and then why not? I said, listen, I don't really want all the, maybe if you had something like the Flying Nun, I might consider it, but.
Okay, so you basically, when Pablo gave you the deal, $5,000 a unit, started paying you in cocaine, you wouldn't deal with other connects.
When they asked me,
Yeah.
I would just say, no problem. He said, hey man, can you bring me, I got 200. Can you bring me 200 on the, on your plane? Not a problem. I'd love to do that. Check with Pablo.
Right.
And that's the way I got around that
Right.
stuff,
Right.
Deal with him.
Yeah.
Because Pablo's charging these people transport.
Yeah.
So, and that's where the cartel thing comes in. They're forcing people to go through them.
Mm-hmm.
Before, at one point, if you're a cab driver over there, you made a couple of dollars, I'm going to send a kilo to my other cousin in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could do that. Yeah, fine, you could do that. Now, Pablo steps in, he starts to control this thing and basically organize like a business. And now he's setting rules and regulations. All cocaine goes through me.
Also, though, he would make other traffickers send some of his pieces. In other words, if you had a really good route,
Mm-hmm.
even if you didn't, it wasn't Pablo's route, Pablo would say, here's 300, take some of mine. And then you would
To
charge
other
a
people.
percentage. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, because
Yeah.
you got to remember, Pablo was the #1 guy in the world with cocaine. So I didn't bring all the stuff that he had. He's
Right.
bringing in, tons and tons and tons.
So
I'm
some of
bringing
that could have been for the Ochoas or
Yes,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Would you
Carlos later,
Carlos later,
which
of
he
course.
became kind of friends with. He kind of liked him.
Did you know later?
Yeah, I didn't know him. I can't say that I'm really friends with him,
Mhm.
so to speak. He just got out,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't say that I'm friends, but I know of him. We're in the same circle, and at that level, and that,
Yeah.
the air is pretty thin.
Yeah.
We're at a party together, like that party that I mentioned to you. There was a few hundred people that were there,
Yeah.
and who were there? All the other heavyweights, people of Medellin, and they're all like, it's a melting pot. And so when you came up to me and asked me to move 300-400, give it to Pablo. Pablo would charge you a certain amount. He's paying me $5,000. He told me at the beginning, which is a reality, $2,500 to $3,500 was they were paying. But he's not charging you that. He's going to charge you double the amount.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're doing is you're giving Pablo a kilo for everyone that you put in there.
Right.
Because another thing you got to take into consideration, cocaine in Colombia at the time, the base was like $300
For a kilo.
for a kilo.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So when you got, let's say, 1,000 kilos to Miami,
Mm-hmm.
at your height, Pablo starts to just give you out of
He
1,000
forced me,
kilos
basically.
to take the kilos and not the
He
cash.
basically forced me, but I initiated that reason why he forced me. Because I do a kilo, I do a trip, right? I got 1,000 kilos, pieces that I just brought in. I charge 5,000 per kilo. So now I say, here's 500, give me my money, and then I'll give you the other 500.
Right.
So now what happens is they want me to go again.
Mhm.
They want me to go right away
Yeah.
again. So I don't want to go again. I'm still owed money from the last trip.
Yeah.
So, okay, I agreed to do it one time. So I agreed to do it 2 times. Now my accounting department's getting a little confused.
You guys are backed up.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a second. He owes me 3 from that. He owes me 2 from this. I'm starting, and I'm so focused on what I'm doing here, and I'm not writing stuff in books.
Mhm.
And then there is no accounting department. It's my head
Mhm.
that I don't know now if he owes me 8 or 10 or whatever. So I put the brakes on the whole thing.
So it's better to, instead of waiting for the coke to get sold to get your cash, just give me 500 bricks for me, and I can then sell them to my customers here and get the cash
No,
right away.
I gave him 500, and I held 500 because the way I looked at it, I'm holding at least $15-20 million. You only owe me 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So you're going to come back.
Yeah.
You're going to come back and get your merchandise.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm not giving it to you. I'm just saying this is kind of like a deposit on my balance of the money. Because when I say pay me, I don't know if you're giving me 2 million, 4 million, 3 million. It's not written in stone.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, oh, here, we have
Yeah.
this. Because they got to move that stuff. They got to sell it.
Yeah.
So they got to convert that coke into cash, which is another problem. So maybe they didn't do it right away.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they send it up north because they're moving product in California, New York, all over the world.
So if you brought a load in, how many kilos would belong to you and how many belong to Pablo?
Okay. At the beginning, it was 5 million. When I said I'm not going back until I'm caught up on my cash, that's when Pablo sent me a message. Get your pay from cocaine.
Mhm.
I didn't want to do that. So I said to them, the rep, he had a rep here, I forget his name, Ramirez was this guy's name. So he said, I talked to Pablo. Pablo said to take your balance in coke, get cashed out. So I don't want to do that. I'm not in the cocaine business, guys.
Yeah.
I'm a transporter. Don't put me in that business. Because now that's a whole separate animal, Johnny, that I didn't want to open up that door. Now I had to get safe houses. I got to deal with people. The exposure is too great. You know, before it was wonderful. I'm under the radar, flying it, giving it to you, and I'm washing my hands out of the whole affair.
But you did it. So
I had no choice. I wanted to continue.
Out of a load of 1,000 kilos
350 kilos of mine.
Okay. So, and how much could you get yourself from your customers for it per kilo?
Okay, another great question, because when I said, okay, we'll break it down into product, then I had to get creative again, because cocaine is like 25, 30, depending on where who your focal point is, you know. So they're not going to give me $5 million, or I'm not going to accept $5 million broke down to 25 or 30,000. It's not happening. And you're not going to give it to me at $1,000 or $300. That's not happening, because I'll end up owning all 1,000 kilos. So I said to him, we're going to have to find a happy medium in there. You know, maybe 10, 12,000, 50%. If it's going for 25, 30, I'll take mine at 12. And we ended up with a third of the load, which is 350 kilos, basically what I ended up with.
Right. So what can you sell your kilos for?
Well,
25 to 30 wholesale?
Well, listen, I remember one time, cocaine dropped at my level.
Yeah.
You know, when you're buying 200, 300 at a time, cocaine dropped down to $9,000 a kilo.
Right.
Guess what? I'm warehousing. It's like the stock market.
Yeah.
I got plenty of money. I'm not putting my stuff out there at 9,000. I worked too hard for this thing. You know, I'm just going to sit on it.
Wait till it goes up to 20.
There you go. And I contribute to the Republican Party heavy. People say, why? Keep the price up, man.
Yeah.
Bust all these amateurs.
Right.
Bust all these guys that are charging the 2,500, you know, but almost made it, you know?
That's a way better deal at $20,000 a piece, 350 keys. That's like what?
Oh, yeah, I'm making
I don't
tons
know,
of money.
18, $20 million.
Yeah, in one trip.
So you're making way more than just taking cash.
Yeah, but I'm also running a big, big risk now.
Right.
Because now I'm having to look for buyers. I didn't have a buyer. No, who the hell, do I advertise this thing on the paper?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know where to go. And that's another story, which I think I did touch on it with.
Yeah. So did you have brokers? How did you source? I mean, look, when you have cocaine.
I started warehousing this stuff.
Yeah.
I did. Now I'm going back. As often as they want me to go back, I'm going back. This is where I said to you earlier, the question that I had was, I don't know what the shelf life is on this stuff. Because now I go back, I don't have any problem going back, but I don't have an outlet. So I've got a safe house, which is a multi-million-dollar house in a exclusive neighborhood. You don't see the neighbors, you know. And I've got this house now, like a warehouse, filled with cocaine. Why? Because I'm doing a trip for Pablo, who wants me to go back next week. Well, now I got no excuse. Yeah, I'll go back. And then I take my 350 kilos that I have not sold, and I have to put them in the house. I go back and do another trip. Got another 350 kilos that I have not sold, put them in there. Now I do another trip. Hell, I'm getting really, really, you know, like, what do I do here? Then I started asking myself questions. What's it like back in those days? You can Google, what's the shelf life on cocaine? At what temperature do I have to store this stuff? I didn't know none of this stuff, you know? So I started like really being concerned. And then one of my guys had a buyer. And then he kind of opened up that door. And I didn't want to sell locally. First of all, locally, the price is too cheap. And I didn't want to do that. And I didn't really have contacts up north, you know. That's why I get indicted in Detroit, New York, and all these other places, which I was kind of pissed about that. Because like I even told the prosecutor up in Detroit, Why am I getting indicted here? I don't drive a Chevy. Why am I getting indicted in Detroit?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Why do Colombians get indicted for the coke they sell in America? Because that's how they treat it.
Exactly.
So you had out-of-towners. Are these mostly Cubans?
No, I didn't deal with Cubans.
Okay. Who are the Dominicans?
There were no Cubans in
in
my
your conspiracy?
my team.
Okay, so they were all Colombians?
No, I didn't deal with Colombians either. Americans.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's not true. One Cuban, Yayo was Cuban. He was from Mario Boatlift.
Oh, wow.
But I handpicked him because of that.
He was a real Scarface.
Yeah, he was a real. I mean, I had to be careful with him. Yayo, I didn't say shoot him. I said I don't like him. That's the kind of guy he was.
Today's episode is sponsored by Harry's. 2 people this week, true story, 2 people asked me if I was on Botox, if I was using Botox. And do you know why? Well, because I look young, obviously. But I look young because I had the cleanest shave of my life using Harry's, okay? Using Harry's razors and Harry's shave products. Does your old razor dull too fast and irritate your neck? Do they cost way too much? Yeah, $30 for 8 refills. Total scam. When I used Harry's, it felt like an Italian in 1920 in a barber chair was using butter to shave my face. That's how I felt. Harry's Plus, look at that cool razor. Oh my God. It's like an astronaut razor. It's something you'd see NASA using. Harry's Plus is an advanced pivoting system to reach every corner of your face. Refined blade tech for a closer, smoother shave, and a weighted metal handle for added comfort and control. With Harry's Plus, you get a barbershop quality shave with German engineered blades. Each blade, check that out, is honed at 3 different angles to cut hair cleanly at the root without tugging. Blade spacing is optimized to glide smoothly and avoid clogging. Drugstore blades clog so fast. Every cartridge includes a lubricating strip with aloe and vitamin E to calm skin while you shave. That is my favorite part about it, because after I have a full shave without going like a week without shaving, and I shave with a normal razor that I get at the drugstore, my face is like swollen up with razor burn. Harry's has solved that. Vitamin E and aloe inside of the blades. Revolutionary. Maybe the best part about Harry's Plus, how affordable it is. Hey, guess what? They cut out the middleman. Harry's owns their own world-class blade factory in Germany. No outsourcing. They use German scientists. That same factory has been perfecting blade making for over 100 years. Because they control the entire process from steel to shelf, they keep costs low. That is very true. This is cheaper than anything that you get at the drugstore. I promise you that. Harry's has launched their most advanced razor yet, and it's still cheaper. Still, than Gillette Fusion 5. If you don't love your shave, Harry's will make it right, no questions asked. Risk-free trial means there's zero downside to giving it a shot. They'll return the shit if you don't like it. But that's impossible. For a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10. What? 10 bucks for this whole thing. For this whole thing, you get 10 bucks. 10 bucks, you got 10 bucks. $10 at harrys.com/connect. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, 1 refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head to harrys.com/connect to claim this offer, and after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Once again, harrys.com/CONNECT for what might be the best promo deal of any ad read we've ever done. Just $10 gets you this full ass kit. Pause this episode, go to harrys.com/connect and get your $10 Harry's shave kit. Harry's, revolutionizing men's shaving.
So, okay, so you're basically now you're able to, you have the Bahamian government protecting your airstrips in the Bahamas for when you fly in the loads, drop them off there. You own the boats too, to take them from the Bahamas into Miami or the surrounding areas. You bring them up to Fort Lauderdale. Sometimes you go around the West Coast, right? Drop them off in the Keys.
No, I actually, I had 2 or 3, 4 locations in the Bahamas. Okay. Different islands. I had one house that I kept that's a backup house. I kept equipment in that house. I had radio towers in there. I had towers for beepers and so forth. to try to stay, antennas were short meter, 2-meter radio, 4 meters, so we can stay in communication with my boats, my airplanes, and so forth. The other reason why that island was important to me was because it wasn't that far. So we're coming in on 2 speedboats, and for whatever reason, people don't realize that coming into the United States, you come in through cuts. They're called government cuts. They're like door openings, you know? And even though you might have 1,000 miles of coastline, but you just can't come in into those 1,000 because hotels, houses, you know, blah, blah. So you come in through these government cuts. The government has spotters out there that they're looking constantly, surveillance. So if we cannot come in, then I'm going back, and then I'm taking the speedboats back to Bimini, which is the closest island to the States, and then I'll try it again tomorrow. I'm not losing a load of cocaine.
So you would actually, if one of your spotters saw the Coast Guard, you had to do that with coke. You turn around and go back.
As a matter of fact, it's funny. You know, you say, going back to what I was saying earlier, that the DEA asked me. I actually did surveillance on the government. I at one point when I first started doing this stuff with marijuana and cocaine, it was balls to the walls. The scariest mile was the last mile.
Yeah.
Because that's where you swim so far to die on the shore, you know? So I had to take that element of surprise and rolling the dice. I like to consider myself a pro. I don't gamble. So I try to increase the odds on my favor. Have you ever seen me gambling? The game is fixed, and I got the answer.
So that obviously, to me, of course, that's the scariest part. That's where the money's made, bringing it from the Bahamas to the U.S. So how many people did you have in your crew of the boaters?
Well, here's what I did.
From like the lookouts to the people driving the boats?
Here's what I did. What I did was I had my intelligence guy, which was Nano, and then I had a security guy. Dana was his name, or is his name. He hired 8 or 10 crew, little boats. I didn't know these guys. These guys would not know me. I have no idea who they are or even what the boats look like. These guys were not part of my system. Dana hired them, and what their job was, whatever they had for a boat, we gave them radios. They were to drive back and forth on the coast. And if, say you're fishing, you're a boat that's out there, they come up to you and say, hey man, are they biting? Hey man, I dropped my lighter in the water. Can I get a light? They're gonna look to see if there's any fishing gear, if you're wearing jeans, if you're government.
Oh, they would actually approach the Coast Guard?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's not just Coast Guard you gotta worry about. You gotta worry about DEA, customs, and a non-marked boat.
Oh, I see, right. So these guys would suss out if these fishing vessels were actually undercover beds. Wow.
And who do you have? You have local police, Marine Patrol. Coast Guard, you could always see those guys. They got that orange stripe. You see them from a mile.
Right.
You know, Customs, DEA. And they're sitting there on boats that they confiscated from a buddy of mine.
Right.
They got no markings, and they're like just anchored there at the cut. So what happens, my guys are doing this back and forth. I come in on my speedboat. Look, man, I got goosebumps. I come in on my speedboat. I always travel with 2 boats. One's got fuel, nothing but fuel. It's my shadow boat. In case we have a problem and we need more fuel, I got it there. We got batteries, we got pumps, and we'll just transfer. We run back to another place. We're not losing cocaine. We're not. So I will hold off, let's say 5 miles out, and we're like on 2 boats. We tie it off like this. Lights are totally off. There's nothing lit on that boat. No smoking, nothing.
And this is like at dusk? What time would you come in?
This is at 3, 4 in the morning.
Okay, so it's dark.
Dark.
When you're bringing in the loads.
Yeah,
okay.
When we're on the speedboats, dark. It's pleasure craft, daytime.
Okay, so it's speedboats. Go back to the speedboats.
So now I'm out there tied side by side. I'm on the radios, you know, and I'll say, hey, Kingfish, you know, how does the driveway look? Hey, man, driveway, mother-in-law's in the driveway, sit still. Mother-in-law's in the driveway. So that means we got somebody on the driveway, you know, and then he'll sit there and he'll say something like, how far out are you? I'm 5 minutes out. Okay, mother-in-law's moving, hit it. So I send my lead boat fuel in front, and I sit back and watch. If anybody's gonna go after him, I have a decision to make. They went that way, I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna go that way, or I'm just gonna turn around and go back. That's a call that we gotta make at that point. You know, at that point, you're turning on lights when you get close to the right at the entrance, and then you watch. You know, nothing's gonna happen to him. He's not illegal to fuel, but he's going to draw all the heat that's there.
And do you want
watch
him
him.
ideally
I
to
watch
do you
him.
want your shadow boat, your decoy boat to actually draw a chase?
No, I don't. It would be better for us to say that the DEA, whoever happens to have been there, moved and didn't see anything.
Right.
I would rather not heat up a boat, not heat up
Right.
my guys.
Right.
Because that brings heat to the. That's where you see a lot of these guys that look at a speedboat and they go, "Oh wow, man, it's a great looking. Must be a smuggler." No, smuggling boats are plain, no graphics.
Yeah.
Because the government would take pictures.
Right.
I've been out there smuggling with an open fish of a speedboat, and I got the bales right there, and they go by. The Coast Guard, they'll go brr, brr, strobe light. They'll take like 1,000 pictures. What they do is they can't arrest you out there, but what they do is they take these pictures, blow them up, and then they'll pass them around from different agencies. And if you've got one of a kind boat, can you just draw a lot of attention to yourself? And these are the things that bring people down eventually.
Okay, so you would send in the first boat, not loaded, the fuel boat, and then you would just go the other way.
Yeah, and then I have a house to the north and to the south of that. I have 2 homes. I had houses all the way from the Keys all the way up to Cocoa Beach.
Yeah, you had like over 100 houses.
Well, no, those houses were for sale.
Oh, I see. But
These
you
were
had
smuggling houses.
Okay, you had, and that's so. Tell us. So you would hit it once the coast was clear.
Yeah.
You're 5 miles out.
Right.
That's when you speed to shore with the boats loaded.
All full on.
How fast do these boats go?
Some of these boats will do over 100. 100, 105, 90, depending on the seas, depending on how your props are set up.
Do you go in about 100 miles an hour?
When we're out there traveling, when we're bringing it in, you're going maybe 40, 50, 60 miles. You're just riding you're cruising, you're hitting the top of the waves, The full-on power is only if you really are being chased.
Yeah.
And I've had to do that. I've been shot at by a helicopter.
Yeah.
And that was scary as all hell.
Yeah, you actually escaped, I think, the Bahamian military.
Bahamian American Task Force. They had a Huey helicopter, green, like left over from Vietnam with a 50 caliber on the door.
And they were shooting the 50 cal in front of the boat, right?
Tracer bullet. I'll never forget those bullets going over like this. The boat would jump up in the air because you're skimming the surface on the wave, and now you're going 80, 90 miles per hour. I'm not clocking the thing. We're just full on. All of the engines are down, roaring like there's no tomorrow. And I've got my other boat right over here. My shadow boat's right over here. And all I hear is screaming. Everybody's screaming. Got the engines roaring from my boat, their boat. Got the chopper right up here. Water splashing up. And now when you're hitting these waves, at one point the boat goes up like this. So you see the point of the boat aiming 30-degree angle, 15-degree angle. And you got the chopper right up there, and there's nothing perspective. Looks like you're gonna spear this chopper.
Yeah.
And you see the bullet going over, and you go back down, and then you go back up, and all of this, and the people, we're gonna blow. I got these things called saddle tanks, which is the rail of the boat, which is the wall on the speedboat. All of that is covered with fuel. I have special tanks that are made, and they go in there so I can maximize and try to put as much fuel for the distance that I'm going to run. So if any one of those bullets hits the side of the boat and So like I told the guys, we're not stopping. If you want to stop, jump. They'll pick you up.
Right.
We're not stopping. I'm screaming it. And how would I know this? Because we're wearing FM transmitters. We're all wearing headsets, and we're communicating back and forth this way. And that was pretty scary.
So how did you escape that? Because I thought we've all seen the videos of military, shooting at these boats. I thought that was inescapable. I thought you had to give up. Did you just outrun the chopper?
No, my plan at that point was to head to an outer island and then drive the speedboat into the mangroves. And then before we hit the mangroves, jump. At that point, my main concern is going to prison. Obviously, that's what I don't want to go to prison. I live to fight another day type thing. So I thought we always had a flare gun, obviously, and I kept this even in my airplane. We kept a gallon of fuel, and the idea at one point why I put that in the airplane was if we have to, we'll burn the damn thing. We'll take the flare gun and shoot the gallon of fuel, we'll let it blow up, let it burn. Get rid of the evidence, fingerprints, whatever, will be, it'll be disintegrated. So at that point, I'm really good under pressure. So I'm processing all the outs, and then I thought, well, we're going to just run the boats into the mangrove. Before that, we'll jump. Hopefully, the boats will blow up, because it's got a lot of fuel. And these guys were just not letting up. And we were too far out. We were like a couple hundred miles out there. And these guys were just not giving up. They were on us. They were on the side. They're trying to take the engines out. And then it occurred to me, if they wanted to have killed us, they could have done that.
Of course.
But being the Bahamians and being the fact that I used to buy product from these guys, I'm sitting there thinking, you guys want what's in this boat. And
Right, because a 50 cal right there, I mean, you'd have to be to not be able to hit a boat. Yeah.
So I'm processing all of this shit. I said, but the problem now is we just might get hit by accident because these guys are just too close, and the bullets, when they might be shooting here, when the boat goes up, they're thinking it's coming down. Now we're up and now we get hit. So I'm thinking, man, we're going to die here. I got to find a solution to this. These guys want the product. I'm going to give them the product. So I tell my guys, slow down. Slow the darn boat down. We slow down to a crawl. The helicopter's doing this. They're not on us in the front all the time. They're on the side, they're on the back, they're in the front. So when they peeled off like this, I said, slow down, jump. So I jumped, we're 3 guys in each boat. We jumped to the shadow boat. Now they see this boat loaded with duffel bags. It was actually weed at the time. So they see the product right there because it was what we call an open fish. There's no hiding it. You're on a speedboat. What are you going to hide?
Yeah.
There's no sense in that. So now they see that. And it was just getting to the point that it was almost where you couldn't really see. It was twilight, right? So now they're still on us. But I'm saying, and then when I jumped off the boat, we jumped off maybe going 2-3 miles an hour. So the boat's doing this, and the boat is now drifting, going slowly. And I'm saying to myself, these guys are not going to want to lose that boat. They're not going to want to lose that boat. Why are they still chasing us? Next thing I know, they peel off and they go straight over to the boat. They hovered on top of the boat. They dropped the line and they got on the boat and drove the boat away, and we got away.
That was it.
That was it.
And then you probably bought that weed back from them.
Oh, then I was like, God darn, man. I wasn't worried now about dying. I'm alive. Oh, shit, I just gave all this money to, and that was mine.
But that's what's so interesting is that you, and we're going to get to this in a second, you started out before your cocaine career, you were smuggling in weed from the Bahamas that was confiscated from the Bahamian government that you were buying from them.
That's right.
So it's almost like you could have gone back and probably bought that.
I did.
That weed back. Okay,
yeah,
you did.
I tried to go back. They had taken my boat apart, took the engines off of it. And then, I call, hey, listen, you guys, I lost a boat, blah, 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 blah. Well, so-and-so just got one. And then when I went to see the boat, or when I sent one of my guys, Tito, they took the whole boat apart, took the antenna, took the radios. And they basically, what you got now is a shell. So I said, forget it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to ask for the weed back at that point. Don't even ask me why. I was too concerned. I owed money for part of that weed, which is where now I started getting into more and more problems owing money. And that's when I get kidnapped, and I...
Let's go back to the cocaine. Now you're stationed in international waters. The coast is clear. You get the call from the radio from your spotters.
Right.
It's go time. So what next? How many bricks per load on a speedboat did you have?
My loads were always 1,000 or over.
Okay.
1,020, 1,002.
Right.
I made it to, and the logic that I used with Pablo, why I was making the money that I was making, and I use logic, and reasoning. That's my best backing that I could come up with. I told Pablo when they said, 3,500, 2,500, and I said, look, man, I got $2 million in my airplane. I got $1 million in a boat. I got 500,000 in the operation. You're asking me to come here to make less than what I've already got invested?
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. These other guys that you're dealing with, they're running around in an airplane that's maybe worth 40, 50 grand, 100 grand, and they carry what, 300, 400 at the most? I said, I could carry a lot more. I said, I'm not coming to Colombia to make less than what I'm risking. Not to take into consideration my freedom, my freedom or my life.
So you had at least a ton, 1,000 bricks is a ton of cocaine on per speedboat.
Per speedboat.
So
no, per speedboat. I'm sorry, I apologize. 500 normally is what I would put in there.
Okay.
I wouldn't put all the eggs in one basket.
Right. Okay. But you only send 500 at a time?
500,
Try
could
to
have been
stagger
600, 7,
Okay.
yeah. Because what I would do is I would split sometimes that load with a pleasure craft.
Okay. So tell us, finish up how you would get the bricks from the speedboats into the safe houses.
We come in to cut, and usually there's very rich neighborhoods, very wealthy neighborhoods, big homes. One that comes to my mind over there by Val Harbor, Indian Creek, where everybody knows those homes are like $50 million.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I'm not going there because then later on, those guys, they started putting their own police, they have their own police. So they started staging police on the water.
Right.
Surveilling the island, going around in a circle. So I don't want to go there. But I had a house right by there. What I would do is then I would bring in the speedboat. I had the exhaust set up, and at the beginning I made this mistake. The exhaust on these engines, you know, you're running 500 and something horses at the time. Today it's like 1,000 or more. So they'll reverberate this glass. It'll pop, 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 pop.
Right.
You know, it sounds like just outrageous, like a war zone. And so I can't have that because I'm going to wake up all these neighbors. So I got with my guys, said, okay, what can we do something about this exhaust, you know? And I have to have open exhaust to run the engines, you know, efficiently. So he said, well, we could put a butterfly in there. So we did, we put like a baffle, like a door. So I pushed this button and it cut the direct exhaust out the back and it rerouted it to under the water.
Okay.
So now when I'm coming in the back of the house, I cut the engines, we drift into this house, and all you hear is blue, 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 blue. You know, you don't hear any noise. So we come up. At that point, I'm already on the 2-meter radius. We have different radios that we use for different distance, whether we're going, you know, 1,400 miles or 200 miles, or we're going, you know, like, you know, close up. So now I'm on my 2-meter radio, which is, you know, 20, 30 mile range hand to hand. And I tell them, okay, I'm pulling up now. So I've got a crew of guys in this house. These guys come out of the house, 3, 4 guys. Their job is to take these duffel bags and move them into that house. Okay, there's also one of those guys who'll be a boat captain. I call him a boat captain, just another one of our guys. His job is to jump on the speedboat and then take the speedboat to a marina, which I happen to know the owner of the marina. We dock the boat in the marina. The following day, the boat will come out of the water, go on a trailer, and it'll go to a warehouse to be dealt and gone through by my mechanics. We wax the boat to make sure it's gliding, you know, and we go mechanically through the boat. Then those guys take the cocaine, they put it in the house. That coke will sit in that house all night. The following day, that coke goes on a truck, on a vehicle. During 9 to 5 is when I move my product and trying to increase my chance. If you're the only car out there in the middle of the road, you got a cop sitting there, you're drinking coffee, a little bored. Let me see what this guy's up to. You know, so we're not doing that. So we're moving
traffic
with a crash car and back. So then at that point, that goes to my safe house.
Right.
The safe house, nobody knew where the safe house was at. No, there's only 3 people, myself being one, and then 2 other people that knew where that safe house was at.
Your most trusted guys.
Yeah, my most trusted
So
guys.
the guy, and what was the overhead between the spotters, the people that are unloading the coke?
Those overheads, I figure it's just a few $1,000s a night.
Yeah.
All they're gonna do is just give me an hour or 2 of back and forth.
Yeah.
They're not involved in anything.
And they don't know who you are.
They don't know who I am.
The only people that know you are your main guys.
But see, what I did with my organization, I broke it down into the aircraft department. So I had a guy that headed that department. He's in charge of hiring pilots. He's in charge of maintaining the equipment. He's in charge of buying equipment. Did the same thing with the Marine Division. My Marine Division, I had a guy, Johnny. He was in charge of the boats. He would be the one maintaining, he would be the one getting the mechanics, warehouses, and so forth. And then I had the transport equipment, transport on land, you know, and then that included the cars that had the air shocks to be able to pick up the bumper from the back so it wouldn't drag.
Yeah.
And then I had my surveillance, then I had my guy that was my intelligence guy, which is the guy that I call Q after the James Bond movie guy. And he's the guy that did all my electronics. I paid him. We had guys, one guy, him or somebody else, that would monitor the radios 24/7. Because one thing I did learn at the very, very beginning of this smuggling stuff, it's all about communication
Right.
and precision.
Yeah.
You know, like I told the guy, hey, don't try to get there. If we're going to get there at 8 o'clock as our rendezvous point, we'll get there at 7:30. Why? Don't try to impress me with the fact that you're there early. Because, I'll give you two examples. If you're there with a speedboat, what are two speedboats doing tied side by side 300 miles off the coast of Florida? What are they doing there? These are speedboats. These are not fishing vessels. We got a problem. They're looking for a drop. Now, if the airplane gets there before, what does he do? Does he circle and draw heat, burn up fuel? So precision is very, very important.
So you got to the point where you actually were hiring pilots. You weren't flying all the loads. You weren't going out of Colombia every week.
Toward the end or the middle, somewhere along there, I don't know at what stage. I realized one thing: if I want to be big, I have to be, like I say to people, you know, you're the guy with the piano, you're the guy with the cello, you're the guy over there with the violin, but I'm the guy with that little stick.
You're conducting it.
You're
conducting it, right.
Today's episode is sponsored by the company who changed my life, Mando, the world's #1 whole body deodorant. I am a sweaty son of a bitch, and I've always looked for a deodorant that controls my sweat and my odor, but doesn't have all of those nasty chemicals like aluminum and parabens that you find in your run-of-the-mill deodorants that you buy at the supermarket. That's why Mando is the game changer. Check it out. Unlike other deodorants loaded with chemicals, Mando uses only premium ingredients like gentle mandelic acid to keep you fresh and dry. It tackles both odor and sweat. Mando's new deodorant plus sweat control solid stick gives you the double protection you need. No more worrying about sweat stains or those embarrassing pit rings. Just all-day freshness and dryness. Comes in a bunch of different delicious scents. And again, it's paraben-free, aluminum-free, even gluten-free. And I'll tell you right now, it's economical. One swipe and you're good to go. When I use a deodorant from the grocery store, I'm rubbing half of the stick on one armpit just to make sure I stay fresh and smelling good. With Mando, it's one swipe. This isn't your typical deodorant. It's clinical strength, 2 times better at controlling sweat than the standard deodorant. It controls both sweat and odor for 72 hours. And after just 12 hours, underarm sweat was reduced by 92%. This stuff really works. Check it out. My listeners are going to get a discount. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, plus free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code Mitchell, my last name, at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. Once again, that's shopmando.com with the promo code Mitchell, Mitchell. Support the show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness. This will be the last deodorant you ever need to buy. Thank you, Mando. Today's episode is sponsored by Ava, the only credit building app tool that I trust. I use Ava to build up my own personal credit, which is now stellar, and it took me less than a month to do. Here's what Ava does. Ava is a credit building app that makes it so easy to improve your credit fast, so you can get better rates on loans, pay off debt faster, and keep more money in your pocket. For just $8 a month, you get access to all of Ava's credit building tools. Ava keeps it low stress, low cost, and super transparent. Most members see their credit go up in less than a week. Less than a week. That is right, because Ava reports all of your on-time payments continuously to all of the major credit reporting bureaus. And let's face it, everything you do nowadays is on a subscription. Your rent is on automatic payment, your Netflix, everything that you pay for on a monthly basis, Ava can report and help build your credit up to the major credit reporting bureaus. It's that simple. Plus, Ava's got their own credit card to get you started if need be. Check it out. You can get an Ava card in 5 minutes and get credit up to $2,500 to pay for existing bills and subscriptions automatically. There's no credit check, no interest, and no hidden fees. Just an easy tool that helps build your credit behind the scenes. That's a good tool to use. Take control of your credit right now. Download the Ava app, AVA, today, and when you join using my promo code CONNECT20, that's CONNECT20, you'll save 20% off for your first year, monthly or annually. It's your choice. Again, get the Ava app and use my promo code CONNECT20 so they know you heard it from me, and get 20% off whatever plan you want for up to a year. That brings your cost down to about $6 a month. $6 a month to build your credit up and change your financial future. Use my promo code CONNECT20. Thanks to Ava, and now go and get yourself some good credit.
So your biggest fear is getting a pilot who's a cokehead, who's irresponsible, who's a criminal. How did you vet pilots, and how did you make sure you had the right pilots, and how did you keep yourself insulated from them in case they got popped?
I had a legitimate aircraft business. So I kept my family isolated. They had no knowledge. So why do I go into the airplane business? My mom, my wife, nobody knows what I'm doing. So why am I around airplanes? Well, listen, I'm selling Lamborghinis. I got these rich guys coming here and they're saying to me, hey, I'm looking to buy an airplane. Could you refer me to somebody? So I thought, well, hell, why don't I sell them the airplane? So I decided to get into the airplane business. And one thing led to the other, and I'm saying to me, well, why not learn how to fly? So now I have a legitimate airplane business called Excalibur Aircraft Sales and Leasing Charters. I flew quite a few movie stars and all that kind of stuff, So while we have this charter business, we're now in the Fort Lauderdale International Airport. So now we're like rubbing elbows with other pilots. We're going to the same place where they're drinking. And then my guy's job was simple. I don't want to hire a Barry Seals to come work for me. And I say Barry Seals because a lot of people know him, and I know you do.
Yep.
I knew him too, by the way. And I don't want that because he's going to bring me a lot of trouble. He's going to bring me what I call a comet. He's got a tail. If he goes down, or somebody else goes down that knows him, then that's going to affect me, the ripple effect.
Yeah.
So who do I want to fly for me? Guys from American Airlines. I'm paying $200,000. You're making $200,000 in a year. $200,000 on a weekend, buddy. And you're not landing with any cocaine. As a matter of fact, if you're worried about getting busted, you don't have to worry about the authorities. They're going to open up the door for you and throw out a red carpet.
So are you making this pitch to them?
Yeah, well, Jack would make, once they, I'll go and have a couple of drinks with them. I'm the last word on the approval. Yeah, let's go ahead and hire this guy.
And Jack says, this guy's cool. Yeah, like we've sussed him out.
Jack at the beginning was like my shadow.
Yeah.
He was great. He taught me basically everything about airplane. And then another guy by the name of Billy. He was the guy that Gigi was a totally illegal airplane. I took wings from another airplane, took brakes from this other airplane. We took engines, took these engines off, put these other engines that this airplane would consume less fuel flying low. Because, you take like jet props, like a jet, it's really designed to fly at altitude. Right. We're not really wanting to fly at altitude. No. So we're going to burn more fuel. Also the noise factor.
Right.
So, I surrounded myself with a lot of pros.
Right. And then you would let them know, listen, we have the Bahamas paid off.
Right.
You were giving I think he was like the head of the FAA in the Bahamas.
Well, he was the head of an airport.
Right.
Yeah, Jonathan called him the head of the FAA, but in reality, he wasn't the head of the FAA. He was the head of a airport like Nassau or like Great Harbor. And that's what I don't give a darn what kind of title this guy has. What I care about, in this airport where I want to land, he's the man.
And you were giving him $500,000 a drop? For a guy in the Bahamas, I mean, you're giving him generational money every time you guys drop cocaine.
Yeah, did you hear how I did it, or you want me to tell you how I got this guy?
Yeah, no. They can go listen to the podcast.
That was really funny.
All of these anecdotes that are contained within these stories, people should go check out Cocaine Air, but that's fascinaing. So, and then they kept, of course,
he's arrogant.
Yeah, and they kept wanting more and more money, so
Greedy
you would move
arrogant.
it around.
He got all the way up to $1 million, and then he's threatening to lock up my guys if I didn't pay him the $1 million.
If you had a problem, like if you needed somebody hit, not in the U.S., but in the Bahamas, like if you needed to take care of somebody, could you make a call to Pablo?
Yeah, of course.
And they would send somebody up?
I wouldn't even have to go to Pablo. I'd go to Pablo's rep right here.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Wow. Okay, so...
Yeah, that's...
So the American Airlines, these legitimate pilots, these probably white guys.
That's all my guys.
All these white guys.
My pilots.
And they said $200,000 for a run?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do
Let's
it.
do it. And the guarantee is, and I was very upfront, because a few times Jack said to me, T, man, you're gonna have to talk to the guy. I got him on the fence.
Yeah.
But you got to take him over the fence.
Right. You got to make the sale. You got to
Exactly,
finalize
exactly.
the sale.
So, and I like to be transparent. I like to be honest. And you have to, especially in this business. So I told the guy, look, man, let's look at the risk factor here. I make $200,000, right? You don't make that in a year. I make $200,000, and you don't have to worry. If you're worried about getting arrested, I'm not asking you to fly to the United States.
Yeah.
You're gonna fly to the Bahamas. I've got the Bahamas in my back pocket. The head of the airport security is the guy's gonna open up the door for you.
Yeah.
So that's guaranteed. Now there is a risk factor. What's the risk factor? Flying into Colombia. But even there, we have intelligence. Pablo would supply me with the American task force that's got the Apache. It's on the northern coast. Take the southern route.
Okay.
So I would get a certain amount of intelligence given to me. But I'm not gonna sit here and and not be totally transparent with you. You could run the risk of getting shot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But the odds are slim.
So all they're going down there, and they're not even taking any cash with them when they're going down to Colombia.
No, I always gave them cash. I always gave them.
But not buy money though. You're not going down with re-up money.
No. What I would do is I would give them. Let's say it's 200,000. I'll give you 100 grand up front.
Yeah.
You leave your family. And then here's another 30 or 40 in case you got to put the airplane down. This should buy enough time for you to smoke your way out of a situation.
Right.
Then I will come in personally and take you totally
and clean
out.
it up. Right.
So
okay.
I'm not going to leave you stranded down there.
So
And that's just bribe money.
yeah, of course. So what are the routes? Yeah, tell us the air route getting down to Colombia, where they would load up, and how they would get to the Bahamas.
We're going to a place called Los Llanos, which is deep inside Colombia.
Where?
Los Llanos de la Bichada. It's inside, call it an hour and a half flying into Colombia.
But I know, we're going to pull it up on a map. We know Colombia well. So is this,
I can show you a
is
map
this
on that,
close
book.
to Medellin, or where compared to like Bogota, Medellin? We'll pull it up. We'll pull it up. But
we come in through Santa Marta.
okay, so through the north.
Through the north. We're coming in through Santa Marta, and then depending where we're told to go, we get that information before.
I see.
We get longitude, latitude, and we're flying into the labs where a lot of your amateurs are flying to the coast or near the coast.
Right.
And they're transporting the cocaine by trucks or by light airplanes
Mm-hmm.
closer to the coast. A lot of these airplanes didn't have the fuel to be able to go that distance. Now, we were flying so deep into the jungle, and there was no airport, no way of really pinpointing a location. What we had to do normally is we would fly into the north Santa Marta coast. There's a bridge there. We fly in there. We go in a little deeper into the jungle. We actually land the plane, and we pick up a local pilot. That's like what we call in Australia a bush pilot.
Yeah.
This guy knows that tree over there. He knows that river over there. And he's flying by the seat of his pants. He's flying by eyesight. And it will follow the river. It's going to turn here, but we're going to go here. And he's the guy that's actually flying the airplane at that point.
So you're just landing at man-made airstrips. You're not landing at any
We're
kind of...
We're landing in dirt. A bunch of guys out there with machetes. They chopped up and cleared this clearing in between trees.
And that's when Pablo had these big labs way out there in the jungle. So you're close to the labs, obviously, where the coke's just getting finished.
We're right there. We're right there in the lab.
That's wet-ass coke.
Yeah, we're out there in the lab, in the jungle.
Yes.
And these things get bombed.
Yeah.
One of the things that the feds started doing, because it was impossible to find, they really one time where our airplane couldn't start, and we missed our departure point, and in less than a New York second, man, these guys with machetes, boom, 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 they cut all these trees. And I'm talking like a King Air. That's a big airplane, right? They disappeared that airplane right in front of your eyesight. They're really good. So they do that with the lab. They have like a black tarp, and then the posts are tree trunks, and they stretch it, and they have all these tables made up underneath there, and on the top you have leaves, palms, whatever. And then when people think that, well, how do you get a kilo? Do you weigh it? No, I don't weigh the kilo. What they do is they have these little forms on tables, like a little 2x2 kilo's, I hate to make this comparison, but a kilo is like the size of a Bible, small book, kind of thick, And then what they do is they take their cocaine that they've just processed, and then they pour it into these little forms. And then as it dries, they pour a little more. And it's like on a cheesecloth type thing. And then it drips. And then when it hits the surface of the 2x2, let's say, and they scrape it off, that's your kilo of cocaine.
Yep.
They wrap it up, duct tape it, and then,
Yep.
next. So it's not like they have scales out there in the jungle.
No, of course
And they
not.
do this mass production.
Yeah.
Wow.
So an American Airlines pilot, he's got a family, a nice, lovely Christian family. It doesn't sound like any of these guys got caught.
Again, I'm sorry?
It doesn't sound like any of your pilots ever got
nobody
caught.
ever got caught. They're all doing well. They're all retired.
So you made these guys millionaires.
I made a lot of people millionaires. A lot of people millionaires.
Your distributors too, of course.
I made a lot of people millionaires. People that you'd be really, really surprised.
Okay, let's hear some of them.
No, I can't. You just can't.
Is it that deep? Is it that scandalous?
They're guys that that can visit the White House. Guys that are squeaky clean.
You talking about
You gotta
politicians?
remember-
You talking about politicians?
Well, business and industrialists, entrepreneur guys that needed funding, and some were politicians. This is a fact. Look, I don't belong to any party right now. Okay, I'm with the Tito party. That's the party that I'm with.
Right.
But there was a time in my life that I think you'll know that most Cubans are Republicans. Right?
Yeah.
And that's another story in itself. Why they're Republican? Kennedy let them down. So having said that, I contribute over $100,000 to the Republican Party through some of my friends that I'm invited to have dinner with Reagan. I got an invitation to go have dinner with Reagan.
With Ronald Reagan.
Not one-on-one in a party that he was going to hold. But I'm sitting here saying to myself, this is really crazy.
Yeah.
I'm the #1 smuggler in my world.
Yeah.
And here, I didn't say a whole lot for the Secret Service, right? I mean, I'm invited to have dinner with the guy in the White House. So I had keys to 4 cities. I was able to separate that life of mine totally from what I was doing under the shadows, under whatever. So there was no reason for me not to be liked, well received. I was a young entrepreneur, 20-something years old, worth millions and millions of dollars. Big time building, beepers, cell phone, Lamborghinis, banks. So I had it going on. So yeah, you want to know me.
So if you had $20 million that you had to move, you also, besides being the transport, the smuggling into Florida to then the distribution, you had a sophisticated money laundering operation as well.
Very sophisticated.
So you're laundering like tens of millions of dollars.
Yes, I am.
Explain how that worked.
Well, it was really, I surround myself with some really great Swiss bankers that have 3rd-generation bankers. These guys are so, let me just give you one scenario that was really fascinating to me. I needed to increase my floor plan, right? Another $5-10 million. So they hand.
What do you mean your floor plan?
For cars, Lamborghinis,
Right.
For the dealership.
Okay, you had to build your dealership out.
Yeah. And, I wanted to, any one of these cars could be a few $1 million.
Yeah.
So when you're spending $3-4 million in a car, it's not that much, it's just 2-3 cars. So, and I wanted more money,
And by the way, are these businesses profitable, or are these, okay, so they're making a legitimate profit on top of being money washing business.
Yeah, but at the same time, let me add that I've gone to my dealership a few times, and I wish you would talk to my general manager. You'd get a really kick out of him. We're closing the place today. What do you mean we're closing the place? We can't do that, Tito. How can we do that? I says, let me consult with the board. Oh, yeah, I just did. We're closing the place today. Today we're going to shoot pool. We're going to drink champagne. We're going to listen to the Beatles. That's all we're going to do today. Put the "we're closed" sign out there. I just made $16 million. You really think I want to hear to a guy talk to me about, the tire doesn't look right? No, I don't want to be bothered with that nonsense. So I didn't really care.
Okay.
I had people in there that my fault. As a matter of fact, I set the trend on the exotic car world. We did not test drive cars. You wanted to test drive a Lamborghini? Not a problem. Buy it. Get out of the car. When I couldn't get them out of the car, I started roping off the cars. So I don't even want you touching the cars. Yeah. And why? Because otherwise I'm giving joyrides to everybody. Right. You know, people that can't afford the car,
Yeah.
they just want to go around the block. Oh, I got a Lamborghini today.
Of course.
You know, so
Of course.
we're not doing that.
So would you sell a lot of these Lamborghinis to drug dealers?
No, drug dealers can't afford these cars. Okay. Legitimate. I sold one to, I don't know if it wasn't King Abdullah. It was in the 80s, who was the king at that time in Arabia.
Yeah, Saudi
He
Arabia.
bought a Lamborghini. I became the #1 Lamborghini dealer of the world, okay? I went to Italy, and I can show you pictures when I went to Italy to buy Lamborghini car factory. Not the car. I already had that locked because they were in bankruptcy. And I had the funds to be able to buy it. And if I didn't have enough money, I happen to know a guy that happens to be like 3rd, 4th, 2nd richest man of the world. A guy by the name of Pablo comes to my mind. So if I needed funding through my Swiss bankers, through Pablo, not a problem. So I actually went in 1988 to buy a Lamborghini. I didn't end up buying it because I got popped.
Okay.
And then when I got popped, Chrysler bought it.
Okay, but you could go to Pablo if you needed a
anything.
loan?
Yeah, not that I need a loan because I got a lot of money, but if I need $1,000 million,
Wow.
Pablo's the guy that can, that can back that up. But besides that, going back to the bankers.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
This is kind of funny because here's what I did. I said, hey, listen, I need like $10 million. So they said, okay, here's what you're gonna do. We're gonna give you a bank to go to. So they handpick a bank, small little bank. Back in those days, we had more banks in South Florida than in the whole rest of the United States. Everybody seemed to have had a bank. That's why I was buying one. I wanted to be just like everybody else. I own my own bank. So they handpicked this little bank that was not affiliated with anybody. I go and knock on their door, basically. I walk in, sit down with a banker, and I introduce myself. I tell them, who I am. I'm the dealership, the Lamborghini dealership, and I also have 3-4 other franchises in there. So guy goes, oh my God, he goes, I drive by there all the time. I've never been able to go in there because I can't afford those cars. I said, we got to stop by for a cup of coffee or something, cappuccino. We got a great cappuccino machine. Oh, that would be great, blah, blah. What can I do for you? I said, I'm looking for a loan, floor plan. That's what they call a car loan, a temp type thing, And so he goes, what are you looking for? I said, anyways, between $5 and $10 million. It's a little rich for our blood right now, he says to me, because we're a small bank. And I said, well, here's my card. If you ever, are able to, please give me a call or just stop by for some cappuccino. Okay, well, thank you. Now I go back to my bankers and I tell them, okay, basically mission accomplished. I got in there, I introduced myself, I left them my card. So they tell me, okay, wait. A few weeks later, I get a phone call from the banker. Hey, Mr. Dominguez, I'd like to stop by and see you. Or if you can come by, I've got some great news for you. Sure, what is it? Now I know it was going to happen. He said, we partner up with another lending institute. Banks borrow money and then relend it at a different rate. So my guys in Switzerland were able to put together an entity to lend this little bank the money that they were going to turn around and lend it to me. Unreal. So they're getting it at, just use any numbers, getting it at 10 and they're giving it to me at 12.
Yeah.
Now, what they don't know, it's my money that's being lent to me. Why would I do that? At that point in time, I did that because I wanted to create as much buffer away from me. You don't poop where you eat. So I'm doing so many crazy things already that I want to keep this stuff isolated. And this bank, I don't want it to be like a bank that I am depositing doing crazy, stupid stuff.
Okay, so you lent this Swiss bank $10 million in drug money. You deposited it with them, and then they lent it to this small bank that gave you a loan.
Right.
So now you have 2 layers of buffer, and then how does that look legitimate on the other end?
On paper, it looks great. On paper, I just walked in, and knocked on a door, the bank that I have no affiliation with, that the feds can't sit there and say, well, this is your buddy.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to get my buddy in trouble because this is not my buddy. I don't know this bank from Adam. So there's no continuity with that bank.
Right. But how is that money not traceable? Your initial drug money deposit that you made with the Swiss bankers, how does that work?
Already, at this point, the money's in Switzerland. They lend it to an institute, let's say in New York, which bounces it to another institute in Cayman, and then it gets bounced around to different entities. And at one point, this bank is dealing with somebody that is favorable terms,
Playing ball.
and then they take the funds. And then
Okay.
they call me and say, hey, now we're in a situation where we can lend you the money.
Okay, so how do you get that cash to Switzerland?
Okay, that's a really good question. Wow. Okay.
I'm
my
great at
Swiss-
this, TJ.
Yeah, no, I see that. I see that. My Swiss bankers tell me, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to New York, and this is really fascinating. It was like play acting like something out of a James Bond movie. I don't know whether, the Hasidic Jews controlled the diamond entity in New York at the
Right.
time. Okay.
And currently, yes.
And I don't want to say this or that, or I don't want to.
They're criminals. It's okay.
I don't. You said that.
Absolutely.
I didn't say.
I'm putting my stamp on the fact. What a shocker! Diamond District Hasidic Jews are crooks.
They
Everybody
don't
knows
like to
that.
pay taxes and all that kind
No.
of. They do a lot of. It's fascinating. A little piece of paper that big, they'll write, "I owe you $2 million." Boom, and it's all done with little, kind of like our business.
Yeah,
A lot of handshake.
totally.
So one of my guys is like this with one of the ambassadors to Israel. So he hooks me up with a certain group that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Now here's the way it works. It's really great, by the way. Really, really great. Oh my God, it was so cool. And it was scary at the beginning because I didn't like moving around with all that cash.
Yeah. So you took $5 million
In Miami, in Fort Lauderdale, and I put it on my private jet.
Yeah.
And now it's scarier than moving cocaine because that's already done.
Of course.
It's finished product, you
Yeah.
know. So that was, oh my God.
Right.
So I've got my jet sitting there. I've got 5, 10 million, whatever, in suitcases. I go ahead and I tell my guys, spool up the engines, open up the door. I don't want to sit around that airport any longer than I have to. So we pull the jet, my limousine, get my guy, Yayo, usually I take with me. So Yayo, take the bags. So they open up the cargo compartment of the airplane. They throw in a couple of suitcases in there and then close it. And boom, we're up on the air. I'm flying to New York. I fly to, and I stayed at the Hemsley Palace, which is now called the Palace, which is the corner suites. I think they're like 10 grand at the time. Beautiful 3 stories, private elevator inside the suite. Okay, and I always have handlers there. I don't ever go to the front desk. I don't even know how that works. I never pay for any of that stuff. So somebody does, my people. And so then I'm told, be in the center lobby by the round. They have like a round flower arrangement with seats all the way around. Be there at 3:00. There'll be a gentleman there wearing a white carnation. You're going to have a red carnation. Okay. Okay. So he said, go meet him at 3:00 Monday. So now I've got Yayo in a different room with the 5 million. I now have enough clout in that hotel where I've got a personal handler that I bought a house for. And this guy, I don't know if you want to say the loyalty was pledged to me or pledged to the house that I bought him. But I said, Bobby, I need a room and I don't need any names on that room. I need the room for about an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours. Done, Mr. D. I said, okay. And get it not far from the tower where I'm at, because I don't want to walk around the hallway with all this money. So it was heavy, So, all right, so now I got Yayo inside this a room with 5 million. Now I meet the guy in the lobby. I said, come with me, please. Mr. Robinson, I'm Peterson. He's Mr. Robinson. Those are the names that we use over and over and over. Come with me, Mr. Robinson. So following. So then we go and we get on the elevator. He's got a hand cart, a damn cart. So now we go up to that room that I'm given the number. I knock a couple of times. We have a little bit of a code worked out to make sure that it was me, that it was cool, that I wasn't being forced to go in there because the money's in there, And so we got past that code. Yayo opens up the door. I'm not talking to this Mr. Robinson. Even though he comes from a very reliable source, still not talking to him. I know enough to keep my mouth shut in a lot of cases. So we walk into the room. I just say to him, right there, 5. He goes over there, opens up the suitcase. The first thing that went through my mind, Johnny, was really kind of funny because I wore out a couple of money counting machines, wore out the rubber on the wheels. And I'm saying to myself, this son of a gun doesn't have a money counting machine. I'm not going to be here a weekend counting this damn money, you know? And even though we only dealt in hundreds, but still, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
I have never seen a human being do what this guy did. He grabbed each stack of hundreds, and it would be like playing cards, and you raffle the corners. You go. He would go like that. He would grab his fingers, grab the stack, and go like that. Man, he counted that quick. I've never seen anything.
$5 million.
Like that, man.
Holy
he counted
shit.
that. Their money went boom, 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 boom. I'm saying, oh my God, I've never seen this guy's like a machine.
Yeah.
Get rid of my machine. Bring this guy to the warehouse.
Yeah.
It's like, guy, amazing. So the guy counts everything. He says to me, "Can I use your phone?" I said. So he goes ahead. He grabs the phone, and he says, "You can proceed to the next level. It's satisfactory." Click. Hangs up the phone. Looks at me and he says, "Wait 5 minutes." So I look at my watch. I wait 5 minutes. I walk over. I got a phone number that I'm given. I call that number, and the answer is, tell him to have a nice day. I never even say hello. I just click, you know, tell him to have a nice day. Hang up the phone. I turn around. I go, "Have a nice day. All yours." Takes that, puts it in his little cart, wheels it out. I actually walked down to the street with him, and I said, no, I didn't talk to him, but I just watched him. And I said to you, "You believe this, man? This guy's on the sidewalk in New York City, $5 million pushing it. The guy's about this big."
Yeah.
You know, he said, if anybody knew I was in there, he wouldn't make it to the corner. Hey, stabbed this guy right here. And then the guy disappeared. And then I did that over and over and over. That became routine.
And so he's the one, and that got the money
Robinson Peterson.
and he's the one who got the money to Switzerland.
Yeah, and they charged me 6%, which is ridiculous.
So
Super cheap back in the
6 on $5 million is,
well, 1 million would be like what?
so 300,000.
$60,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 5 times 6.
Million, yeah.
Okay, so $30,000.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Nothing.
and so and
You
then
know
that,
what my guys were
and then it was
getting?
taken care of. How,
You know
what?
my people that I knew that made a lot of money. They were not in the drug business, but they're today very successful accountants, very big, a lot of very powerful. They're getting 1-to-1.
Wow.
They jump on the Concorde, and then they take $1 million on the Concorde. They wrap the luggage. You know, you're coming from the United States to Switzerland, or actually, Concorde only flew to Heathrow and Paris. They don't really check your bag, you know. So, and it wasn't his money to begin with. But that son of a gun friend of mine said, "So and so," I call him M in the book. "Aren't you?" He said, "I know I'm gonna lose some money." So he would take and launder $1 million for you and come back and give you 500,000, and the other $500,000 he kept.
And
So
these are
I'm
people
getting
today that have just disappeared into legitimacy, but you have no idea the scandalous.
Well, look, Johnny, had I not gotten popped, I'd probably be running for president.
Right.
And I'd probably get your vote. Because I'm squeaky clean. I've got a legitimate, beautiful background.
So how much were your Swiss bankers taking?
Well, I don't really know what they were charging me a total for doing that, which I thought was ridiculously cheap. I was very happy with it. They were charging me 6%.
Okay, so for that whole process of getting the guy,
6%.
wow.
Now,
how much did you run through? How much did you run through that bank?
Here's something else, though. Think about this. They might have been playing both ends toward the middle, because they were getting 6 from me, but they might have been getting 10 from the other guys, because the other guys wanted that cash. The other guys is that group that you mentioned, they were criminals. They needed that cash in United States. They already had money in the banking system. So what happens when he says, "Can I use your phone?" He said, he calls their people in Israel, wherever the heck they're at, and they go ahead, wire the funds. So the money that's being received in Switzerland, it's not my money. My money's actually staying in the United States.
Right, of course.
Maybe buying other diamonds in cash.
Right.
So that serves a purpose for them.
That's how it works. Bulk cash like that isn't actually moved around the world. It stays, and then dirty bankers just wire the legitimate money that they already have in the system around the world, of
so
course.
the money that my Swiss banker got, you can actually swear it's not cocaine money.
Right.
It might have been diamond money.
Right.
Might have been oil money.
I see.
So it's legitimate.
Wow.
The money that I made, the cocaine money, stayed in circulation in New York.
Wow.
Buying more things.
Of course,
than they
buying diamonds, buying all these legitimate goods.
With no trace. So they were willing to pay for that. So you see where I'm saying that they could have been getting 6 from me and 6 or 10 from the other group too.
So how much money did you launder through this system? How much cash did you give you guys?
I would go up there probably once a week, once every couple of weeks, and do another deposit, 5 million, 2 million, 6, depending on what I was buying here also. You know, and how much money I was spending doing different things. I've given a lot of stuff away. I've given houses away. I've given dozens of cars away. Rolexes, I think there was an article in the newspaper how many Rolexes I gave away. You know, all of my guys had gold Rolexes, you know.
But it sounds like you could have $100 million.
Nothing.
Stretch.
Nothing. Yeah, I made over $100 million, absolutely.
Did any other narcos from Colombia or here find out about how you were cleaning money and try to piggyback
No, I
off
kept
this?
that under my, everything that I did, Johnny, I did not broadcast. As a matter of fact, later on in life, when I ran across other people that were smuggling, Cuban guys or whatever, American guys, and when that incident happened in the Bahamas where they got $100 million, I went and I bought a hotel, okay, that had a landing strip and a marina. And I didn't really give a darn about the hotel. I cared about the landing strip and the marina. Those are 2 tools that I needed, pieces of puzzles that I needed for my operation. So I think I paid $3, $4, $5 million for the hotel. It's bungalows, one clubhouse, and today it's very nice. It was closed for a long time after that. It's called, it's on Cat Island. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because at that point, I basically didn't have to say anything to anybody. And now I'm landing in my own facility. So when people bring up the, hey, T, blah, blah, I haven't seen you. What happened? Have you shriveled up? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I got a big yellow streak in my back, man. I'm retired. Things getting too tough out there. Meanwhile, I just did 1,000 pieces. Why should I have to tell these amateurs? They get in trouble, they're going to give me up.
Of course.
So I basically kept a very low profile, and then I basically told a lot of people, yeah, man, I made too much money, I retired, I'm done. But I'm really landing on my own strip, and I got my own marina, and I don't have to be giving it. I wasn't into beating my chest or running around in speedboats trying to promote that I'm some sort of smuggler.
No, and you were completely clean. You didn't do coke. You didn't,
I didn't party.
Drink. That's it. But you didn't party.
No, I didn't.
You used to have for these airline pilots that would fly your coke up. You used to throw parties for them, and they were like white boy degenerates. You know, we do some weird shit.
Really weird.
But
stuff.
you would then say, okay, go have fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home and go to bed.
Well, no, I'm not gonna go home and go to bed. I'm gonna go to another side of the island. I got a girlfriend that's my main squeeze.
Right.
And I totally isolate her, and I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm not the kind of guy. I'm not into the, sitting there looking at other guys walking around naked and stuff. I'm just not. These guys are perverts.
Gay?
No, they were not.
You're not gay.
No, even if I was gay, I wasn't into that. I'm into just closed doors. Been with 2 or 3 girls. I'm not going to say I haven't, because I'd be a lie if I did.
Did you have a family during this time?
Yeah. No, I didn't have kids. I had a wife.
Kids. Okay.
I had a wife, and I ended up getting divorced. I've been married a few times,
But your family, your mother, because your father had passed away, they had no idea.
No idea.
Your siblings? Did
Yeah,
they know?
2 sisters. So one of my sisters is an architect. She's the head of a city here, the building department zoning. Squeaky clean, like Mother Teresa would not even, you can measure Mother Teresa by her. She won't even take a gift on Christmas from anybody. My son right now is a sheriff. I lived a real pure, clean home
But
lifestyle.
they didn't know about this when you were out there running?
For many reasons. For many, many reasons. Simple. First of all, my mom would have not condoned it. We don't even curse. If I said shit in front of my father, he'd crack my skull. And we had to sit there in the dining room table, all together, TV off, button shirt. I was raised that way. Having said that, so my mom would not have approved it. And second of all, what am I going to do? Ask my mom, hey, mom, I'm thinking about running 1,000 kilos this weekend. You think I should do it on a Saturday or a Sunday? I mean,
What are you going to say?
Yeah. And then the main other reason, which is major in my mind, I know enough about the federal government. When the crap hits the fan, they're going to come in and going to throw a rope around everybody. Everybody that they even have the slightest inclination that they had knowledge, they're getting arrested. And then when they do that, it would be one way of putting pressure on me. My God, if they arrest my mom, there's nothing that I wouldn't do.
Of course.
And if I told you different, I'd be some liar.
Okay,
So I isolated them for their own safety.
So your kilos are going out to, hundreds of dealers,
Yeah.
after you give them to the, first of all, let's talk about that. When your bricks got to Florida, how many different distributors are you giving them to?
Yeah. Let me just say another thing regarding my family. They never saw any large amounts of money. Once in a while, there'd be a mistake that would be made, and I might have in a tote bag $300,000-$400,000 by mistake. And I remember one incident that my mom said, "What is that?" And I said, "Oh boy, how do I get out of this?" So I said, "Mom, yeah, I sold an airplane. These crazy Colombians don't have credit cards and none of that kind of stuff. They paid me with cash. Son, you can't have that kind of cash. Why are you having that?" It was in the office. She walked in. And I said, "I'm going straight to the bank right now and deposit that." She goes, "Please do. You shouldn't." Yeah, Mom, I know. I'm going to the bank. So that's how I got around it. I isolated them from anything.
Okay. Understood. So at the same time, you've got your Ferrari dealerships,
Yeah.
number one in the world.
Right.
You're a huge builder.
Right.
Like you're a builder of homes.
Homes.
Are these mansions, or are they more like
No,
middle
it was a
class?
business, I mean, I was building multifamily homes, 3-4 bedrooms, development. I was doing, when I got popped, I was doing 120 homes, that I own outright everything, in a place called Woodman, Fort Lauderdale, Tamarack area. But I could be doing that, or I could, basically, I own the construction company. At this point, I'm not swinging a hammer like I used to. And I've done that, But to tomorrow, I like the building business, and it was profitable, so I stayed in it. And
So the whole reason that you got into this business in the first place, your backstory is that you're from a sugar, almost
Family.
I would call it this. I would say you were from the aristocracy. Your father was in Cuba.
Yes.
Spaniards that immigrated to Cuba
Right.
in the early 20th century.
Right.
Your father really came from nothing. He built up his sugar business from chopping the cane to then now owning all these sugar mills,
Right.
sugar refineries. He brought you up when you came to the States. He brought you up to as these really, really, as I say, these old school Cubans, Spaniard Cubans.
Right.
Very, very proper, very
Yes, sir.
Catholic, very just always
Family
doing the right thing,
oriented.
family oriented. He dies. He has a heart attack.
No,
He died of
cancer. He had prostate cancer.
Okay, so he dies when you're a young man, like
Right.
19 or 20.
Yeah, that's when he first got the disease, and then he started doing the sugar mill project, a new one, because he owned the sugar mill in Haiti already.
Right.
He sold that because he wanted to keep the family united. My sister was in boarding school. My other sister was in Germany learning German, and then I was in Miami going to school. And then my father reeled me in because I guess he thought I was getting a little wild, even for a young kid, 10, 12. I wasn't listening really to my aunt, minding her.
Right.
So you're coming over here.
Right.
So now I spent 4 years there in the sugar mill.
In Haiti.
In Haiti, yeah. I speak French, I speak Creole, I speak like 5 languages. I speak Italian, French, Creole, English, and Spanish. English could not be spoken in the house. My dad used to say English from the door out, Spanish from the door in. I didn't do that with my 2 boys. They don't speak a word of Spanish. So it's terrible, and it's all about communication. All about communication.
So the point is, he dies, and now you've made a pledge to him to keep the sugar business going.
Yeah, because he started the sugar mill. He put everything that we had into this new sugar mill that he bought in Puerto Rico. We're putting it on a boat, and we're floating over the boat into Haiti, and then erecting this massive undertaking. And then on his dying bed, he says, "Son, promise me that you'll finish the project." And I said, give you my word, Dad, I'll finish the project. I'm the only son. I'm the only boy. And he said, I promise you I'll finish the project. Well, you know, Johnny, I spent 2.5 years knocking on doors. And I just got kicked to the curb, abused and used.
Swindled by
Sure, yeah.
mortgage
One guy
lenders.
took $100,000 from me. You know?
So this is how you start importing marijuana from the Bahamas.
Well, I just said to myself, you know, look at all these guys. These guys are all con artists. They're all crooked as hell. And I see these other friends of mine that were in the marijuana business. And back in those days, you know, it wasn't say no to drugs. It was say yes to drugs.
Yeah. Everybody in South Florida was bringing it.
Yeah, it's party.
Yeah.
You go into any club, you have a real policeman, not a rent-a-cop, a real policeman on the door, but you walk inside, they're doing lines of cocaine on the table.
Yeah. So your goal, you tell yourself, most drug dealers are like, I'm going to make $1 million and get out. You were like, I got to make 14 million.
I need to get the sugar mill done.
To get the sugar mill done. But now, all these years later, you've cheated death. You're at the height of the narco trafficking business.
Yeah, it was.
You made way more than 14 million. Whatever happened? Did you lose sight of the sugar
mill? No, I went back. There's a picture of me back in the sugar mill. I went back to Haiti to do that sugar mill much later.
Okay.
Because I got caught up in the excitement. You know, Johnny, at one point, I'm landing in the jungle, and I've got a guy with a loincloth and a blow gun looking at me. He's touching my Ray-Bans. I'm like, don't touch my glasses, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wearing my hat that had a sword, my Excalibur hat. And so I take the hat. I'll go, okay, here, take the hat. I looked at him. I looked around. I'm in the jungle, and I got this. And I said, Jesus Christ, this is the kind of stuff that I watch in National Geographic, and I'm getting paid for this. This is really exciting. So I got caught up in the excitement, and then I got caught up in the money, and then I got caught up in the power that I now had, not just financially. Don't give me a hard time. I could rearrange your world.
I can literally make a call to Pablo.
You're gone. The whole family disappears.
Did you have to ever collect like that? Did you ever have to tap Medellin to make a problem go away, or to?
Yeah, matter of fact, that's another great question, because in that book, nobody's asked me the question. I actually went to Colombia to collect money that I was owed.
No.
I got Peter Yeo, who is the collector. Yeo goes, "It's my job." The guy cuts out of Miami with $5 million of my money.
What guy?
A Colombian.
He was the distributor?
He was a guy that I was doing business. He told me, he said, I can move this product in California. I said, okay, fine. So I give him the product. Now he disappears. Now, next thing I know, I'm calling him. He's back in Colombia. So I can't have this type of publicity in my circle. For many reasons. I'm bringing in 1,000 kilos. You know, all of a sudden, that's $30-40 million wholesale. You know, if this word gets out, I'm going to run the risk of getting in problems with Pablo, or if I can't live up to that, obligation. So I said, I got a problem here. I said, see if you can hunt him down. So we hunt him down. He's back in Colombia. So I at that point, I decide to go after the money. So Yeo goes, that's my job. I'll go do it. I said, Yeo, you will not last in Colombia 5 days. You'll be killed on the first or second day. I got to do this. So I went back down to Colombia to collect this money that this Colombian left owing me the money. And I cannot have that kind of publicity advertisement in the world that I'm in, because then I will be subject to being played by anybody. So I had Yeo, and Yeo said, I'll do it. So I go down to Colombia. I stay at the Nutibara, which is in downtown Medellin, old hotel, historical type thing. I take over the top floor, the whole top floor I rent, and then I rent the floor underneath. When I walk in with Benjis in my hand. I know how to use money. Believe me, there might be a lot of people out there richer than me, but they don't know how to use it more than me. So I walked in, I spread a couple of dollars with an elevator operator. Back in those days, it was a woman or a man sitting on a chair, stool, and they operated the elevator. So I'm giving money to every shift, the front desk, and I told the front desk, I want to know anybody that comes in. I want to know if they're Americans. Because now I'm also concerned with American DEA. They're there. I just want them singled out to me. so I know who to stay away from. And even though I'm staying away from everybody, I did not call Pablo. You would ask me, why don't you have Pablo do this? I don't know if this is Pablo's cousin. So I do not need that problem. So I kept this totally under wrap, off the radar. Nobody knew what I was going down there for. So I didn't touch anybody that I knew. I went and I felt good about this cab driver that his name was Angel. So I said to Angel, listen, man, I got a problem. I'm looking for this guy. Take me to La Estrella, which is this very rich neighborhood. So he goes, okay. So I said, I got a problem with this guy. I need you to find me a spotter. And then I give him the guy's name. I think the guy's name was Chavarria. So I said, he was really well known. So he said, yeah, I know who he is. So I said, put somebody in front of the house. And I want surveillance on this property 24/7 to report to you. You report to me. He goes, okay. Now I'm taking care of the guy. So now I got this guy in my pocket and he's feeling good and he's feeling the vibes. And I'll tell you, it goes beyond money because you will see in the story how deep this guy got with me. So I spend maybe a week doing surveillance. I get a phone call from Angel. He's there. So I run downstairs. Oh, by the way, I didn't sleep in the bedroom. I slept like in a little walk-in closet. I put bottles all over the doors and the windows. So I figured if the first thing they're going to do is going to come in through a window, come in through a door. If he finds out that I'm here, he knows I'm after my money.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be a greeting. Hi, Tito. How you doing, buddy? So, and a life in Colombia, it's worth less than a Coca-Cola. Exactly. So I don't want to be, and I've been in that hotel where they killed 3 people before.
Dozens of people were getting killed in Medellin every day back then.
Listen, I remember reading the paper, 68, 69 people killed in just one weekend.
Yeah.
It was just, to see a body on the side of the road, not a big deal. It's just the way it was, the way life was. Matter of fact, it's funny because you might not be able to appreciate this because it's called Medellin, but in Spanish, Medellin is a machine gun. So when I arrived one time, like now legally, through the airport, one of my buddy goes, hey, Tito, what'd you think about the guy on the ladder? I said, what guy on the ladder? You didn't see the guy on the ladder? No, I didn't see the guy on the ladder. What guy on the ladder? Go, the guy on the ladder where it says population, the guy had an eraser. Erasing population.
Bringing the population down. Wow.
And that's the way it was.
Yeah.
So now I go to the front of the house. I check with the spotter, the guy that's doing surveillance on the house. He goes, he's in there. Now, the house has got a fence that's probably 10 feet tall all the way around this mansion. It's unbelievable. You know what a barrel tile is for roofing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it has 3 barrel tiles. One row, 3 tiles coming on top of the fence.
Wow.
As decorative.
Yeah.
And then in the front, it's got the iron gate, but it's iron rod, kind of like decorative. You can see through it. And then it's got a guardhouse over here with guys with guns.
Mm-hmm.
And so the guy says, yeah, he's in there. So I said, okay. I go up to the guard and I say, I'm here to see Echavarria. And he gets on the phone. He calls the house and he says, he's not here. I said, don't tell me he's not there. He's there. And then I call him again. So he calls again. And he said, he's not here. So now I know that he's being evasive. I don't point out my surveillance guy. I'm going to throw him under the bus. So I said, so I turn around and I say to Angel, take your cab, barricade the door. So now we put the cab parallel to the door. I turn around and I say to the guy, I don't go in, nobody comes out. So I'm out there in the hot sun for about an hour. Okay, I'm getting hotter and hotter and shorter and shorter.
Do you have Yayo with you with the gun?
No,
so you're not armed at all.
Good question, Yayo. I said to Yayo, if I don't come back, here's what I want you to do. I made arrangements with some people that were, at 20-something, I already have a trust. I already have a will because I might not show up tomorrow. So I said, and I made her, this is for real. I made arrangements. If I don't come back to Miami, and this guy had no knowledge of my craziness, I said, if I don't come back, you have unlimited funds dedicated to terminating this guy's family. I want to see him again. So I tell Yayo, I said, this is going to be a full-time job if I don't come back. You can't go, everything. I said, nothing's going to come to an end. So now I'm over there. My temper is actually running shorter. I'm a really nice guy, but like anybody else, I could be pushed off the edge. The sun is hot. I say, nobody comes out, nobody goes in. Now somebody's pulling up to the house, some kind of relative or something. Hey, move the car. And so the effing car is not moving. And then he said, I'm so-and-so, I got it. I said, you're not going in there, man. It's that simple. I'm not going in. You're not going in. And I'm starting to now get boisterous. Now the guy comes out of the guardhouse with the rifle. Got the, he's getting a little hot too. And we're screaming back and forth. So I tell him, this is wild, man. Now the guy for Yale, I can see him coming out of the house. He's walking next to another guy.
Chavarria, not
Yeah. I'm sorry, Chavarria. Coming out of the house, and he's got a guy wearing a blue poncho. Okay, and he's walking next to him. It's his bodyguard or some sort of like a Yale type guy. And he goes like this, pulls out a gun. He goes, "You want me to shoot him, boss?" So then I tell Angel, get out of here. Leave, and Angel. And then Angel goes into the driver's side of the car, pulls out a revolver, and he goes, I'll die here with you. I'm not leaving you. Are you kidding me? This thing's playing out like a movie. I can't buy this guy's life. Guy's son is a priest too, by the way, right? He goes, I'll die here with you. And I said, I don't expect you to. He goes, no, I'm dying here with you. So now the other guy's screaming, you want me to shoot him? You want me to shoot this piece of shit? He's saying all kinds of nasty stuff to me. So at that point, I flare up and I say, give me the goddamn gun, And then Angel goes, no, I'll shoot him. I said, give me the goddamn gun. So then Chavarria tells me to be quiet. I'm not being quiet. I said, I want my money, blah, blah. You left, blah, 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 blah. And we're cursing at each other, right? And the other guy's threatening to shoot me. And then I say to him, you think I'm alone here? You think I'm alone here? I'm not alone here. I got hundreds of millions of dollars listening to this conversation. Go ahead and shoot me. I'm going to show you how a man dies. I said, but buddy, I'm going to see you again. I'll be in hell waiting for you. I'll turn your family into dinosaurs. I'll start with your grandson. I said, I learned from you Colombians. I'm going to show you how much I learned. Go ahead, shoot me. I'm not afraid to die. Go ahead, you piece of shit. Shoot me. That ended that whole thing. He said, move the car, open the gates, come in and respect my house. I said, respect me, not your house, respect me. You leave the United States owing me money, I can't have that. And I'm still wound up, So we go in the house and we sit on the dining room table. That guy picked up the phone and he moved $2-3 million like that to me. You know where part of the money came from? I got a transfer of money from Beverly Hills Ferrari. Back in the 80s, and I never sold Ferrari in Beverly Hills anything. And I'm talking about cars now. He had customers. Wire transferred right into my funds. Before I left the house, I said, I'm not leaving here until part of my money's given back. You got to show me some good faith.
Why was he holding out? Why would he run off? Didn't he know how connected you were? Didn't he know you knew Pablo?
But he was connected too. He was connected too. You got to remember, at one point or another, we all think that the world revolves around us. I actually thought that I could walk on water. I mean, hell, if you ask me any kind of question, I could make the impossible happen overnight.
Did you ask him? You were like, what the
Later on, yeah. Later on, he apologized. He said he had a lot of things. He says he lost a trip. He lost a trip in Denver or one of those other places. He had some networks up there in the West Coast and up in Northern. So he said, I lost this, I lost that. I said, well, all you had to say to me, hey, T, I got behind a little bit, and I would have given you a trip. I would have made my airplane accessible to you.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man, I know you. You could have just said that, but to up and leave like that and then not answer any of my calls, it's a bad thing to do, man.
One of you guys could have died.
Yeah, it could have been, or would have made me look really bad.
Yeah.
So when I came back as a, like, wow, don't mess with T.
So that got around?
Yeah.
That you went down to collect on your own?
I didn't even have to say anything. When I came back, Yayo made it a point. He goes, you came back with the money. I said, the money's already there. It got transferred from Ferrari, transferred from other locations.
So he made you whole?
Yeah, I mean, not only did it, he actually had about $1 million and something left, which we worked out some more cocaine. Give it to Pablo, bring it in. I won't charge you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm willing to work with you.
And there's so much money. There's so many ways to recoup
They'll make
it.
somebody, yeah, exactly.
Now, if you lost a load, you never lost a load.
Never lost a load.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was good at what
hundreds of tons of cocaine you moved in. But did you have in your mind, if you lost a load, are you just going to pay out of pocket to Pablo?
Yeah, I would have to.
So there's no saying, hey, I'll take more cocaine. It's like he wants his money. Or could you work? Was he reasonable enough to be like, okay, you worked so much, here, John, take more blow and just until I get the money back that
Johnny,
I lost?
That never happened, so I can't put it to the test. But I can tell you this: what did I feel in my heart? I felt in my heart that if I ever said to Pablo, hey man, I had to dump this stuff, he would just say to me, don't worry about it, we'll just go again. Yeah. I don't think he would even come back to me and say, you owe me.
Right.
Because we're back and forth making so many trips.
Because you had built so much goodwill.
Yeah, and I never asked for anything else than what I did. Kept my word. I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I showed up on a Tuesday. It wasn't Wednesday. It wasn't Thursday. It was I was a man of my word. I live up to what I did. So I like to think that I built a good professional relationship of trust with him. So I don't see Pablo ever demanding anything from me.
And in the book that his brother wrote, his brother was one of the accountants for the Medellin Cartel for Pablo. You're one of the only non-family members that's featured in that book.
The proof is in the book.
Because Pablo had a lot of different pilots that would come in and out.
Sure.
Pilots that worked. We talked to Roger Reeves.
Right.
He worked for Pablo for a time, but he never met him, but
I'm the only guy. You don't see Barry Seal. You don't see what's his name? Boston George, which is a joke, in there. I'm the only, and there's not only mentioned all over the book, but there's also a picture of me in the book.
Okay, so
and he himself says, one of our main transporters, TJ Dominguez.
Yeah. So at what point does this start to unravel?
Well.
And how?
It unraveled because the guy that basically taught me everything in the way of airplanes and so forth, he was older than me. And Captain Jack, he developed a really party attitude. And he was the #1 pervert guy. What can I say? He'd go into strip joints, come back with 10, 12, 13 strippers, bring them home, laid in a bed with 4 or 5 cameras back in those days, all right? Kilo of cocaine all over on, lick it off, man, and they're videotaping this whole thing.
Yeah.
And he just became that crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Stuff that I even have a hard time repeating it. Stuff that I don't even want to look at it,
Right.
Perverted stuff.
I do. Anyways.
I do. I'll tell you what I heard from DEA. They told me they love doing the what do they call it? The discovery on Jack.
Bet they
He
did.
had 100 and something videotapes, and they had to watch them.
Yeah, exactly. But how was Jack involved criminally in the organization for you?
Well, he's the guy that taught me how to fly. He flew down there. He has trips with me in the airplane. He's the go-to guy that I relied on.
So he was the head of your aviation department. Okay.
Absolutely. He hired the other pilots.
Okay.
Brought them in.
I see.
And,
of course.
I had to argue with him many times because there's certain things he wanted to do that I was not okay with. And there's some people that he also developed jealousy for, and that I had to bring him down. But then the partying got out of control. I guess all extremes are bad. Hell, if you eat too much cream cheese and bacon, you're going to die. So this guy just started doing too much cocaine. He's sitting there on a winter day in Florida, temperature maybe in the 60s, and he's bleeding, just dripping down like waterfall. He's got cotton all over his mouth, and he's sweating up a storm in the morning. And I'm like, Jack, you're out of control. And that's when I see that picture now, because that was the last time that I actually saw him per se. At that point, I said to him, Jack, look, man, I'm going to put you in a rehab. You're going to do what? I said, you're out of control. I'm going to put you in a rehab. I said, I'm not asking you to stop doing, partying. I'm just asking you to slow it down, man, because I can't rely on you. Look at you. You're a mess, you can't tell me what to do. I said, yeah, I can. He goes, I made you. Well, that kind of upset me a little bit when he said, I made you. I said, Jack, when I met you, you were eating a hamburger, a bite for breakfast, a bite for lunch, and the rest for dinner. You were living in a shoebox. I said, don't you ever tell me you made me. As a matter of fact, you know what? You're a liability. I'm going to send somebody by to pick up all the keys. You're off my network. I don't ever want to see you again. Stay away from anything that surrounds me or is affiliated with me. I don't want to lay eyes on you again. And you can't do, I just did. So I called for a meeting for all of the department heads. And I actually said, I called Yale and I said, we had a problem. And what's the problem? I said, Jack is out of control. He's going to bring us all down. You know, everybody knows he's out of control. And then one of the other guys, pilot, as a matter of fact, he was an airline pilot and he became a very good friend. He quit the airline and just became like full-time on. So he was going to replace basically Jack. And then he said, look, T-Man, you probably won't even have to worry about him because I have a fee. He'll fly right into the water. I gave him a house in Bimini. So now he's living in Bimini, flying back and forth. The way you would jump in your car, he would fly in an airplane. So he's flying, full, totally drugged up. And so they seemed to think that he was going to fly into the water. I said, we need to take care of him. Mm-hmm. I said, and then Yayo goes, Tito, he's one of our friends. I said, I know, man. It's a hard call here to make, but he's going to bring us all down.
How are you planning to kill him?
Well, I mean, I just threw out that we got to take care of him. I didn't use the word kill.
Right. I mean, you could take care of him in Bimini. You could disappear him in the Bahamas. They'd never find him.
This is Yayo's job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, exactly. The Bahamas sharks. Take him out on the boat, throw him overboard. It was a hard thing to even think about. Yeah. You know, difficult because he's one of our buddies and he's one of us. We were like the Musketeers, one for all and all for one. Right. But he stopped being who he was. And he became a liability. So I said, okay, fine, let's not do anything about him, but do me a favor. Grab a piece of paper, put a date on it. He's going to bring us all down, put my name on it, and I'll sign it. And that's exactly what happened.
Okay, so how did all of Jack's wild partying, cocaine use, how did this lead to the downfall of everything?
Well, what happened
Did he get hot? How did that make him hot?
What happened was, no, he spent maybe a year or so or longer doing what he was doing, partying every day. One day he calls me back up. He comes back into my life. You know, I'm at the dealership and he pulls up and I'm in the back parking lot walking to my car. And I look at him and I say, oh shit, you know, I wonder what's going on now. You know, so, hey T, I need to talk to you. Yeah, Jack, I haven't seen you in a while. How you been, buddy? And he's got another guy next to him. So I said, all right, what do you want to talk to me about? He said, I need to make some money. So I said, all right. So why are you talking to me? So he goes, well, I told you I need contact. I need to make some money, man. I said, who is this guy next to you? So he says, that's my pilot. So I said, Jack, I thought you were a pilot. What are you going to do? You want to start like a little charter business like what I've got? Is that what you're interested in doing? No, man. I said, no, man, what are you talking about? Jack, obviously you're still doing drugs, man. It's affected your brain, man. Get off my property. Yeah. And that's what started the downspin, because what happened is that guy was a CI. That guy was a rat. Obviously. Working for actually he wasn't working for the feds. He was working for BSO. So they started the investigation on Jack. Jack meets this guy in a bar and he befriends the guy. Now they're buddies. So the guy's going to do Jack because Jack's got an airplane, he's got a house, he's got things, you know. So the guy thinks that he's got somebody here that's worth arresting or indicting. Jack now bragging about me. He brings me into the picture. So now Jack becomes a second fiddle. Now I'm the real target. But they can't get me. So because my nucleus and my team was very, very tight. So they set Jack up. Jack brings in like Captain Jack, as he used to like to be called. He brings in like, I don't know, something that I would be embarrassed to get arrested for, 20 kilos or some crazy stuff like that. And they pop him on a small importation charge. So he's not working with you guys anymore. No, he's just off for a year. And when I told him, you're off my umbrella, that was it. I never saw him again. I gathered all the keys. He stayed away from everything that Jack knew that I was not a joke. You know, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and hurt anybody, and I don't want to come across that way, but I will beat the hell out of you.
Well, did you change up routes? Jack knew everything. Did you
Yeah.
change up, where you brought the stuff in, where you
Well, yeah, some of the
moved
stuff
it?
we did change,
Okay.
but some of the stuff I couldn't change.
Yeah.
I can't change all my team, and
Yeah.
Jack knows them all. He
Yeah.
knows my airplanes. He knows pretty much everything. And that was why I said to my team, Jack is going to bring us all down.
Why didn't you have him killed? I still don't understand.
I guess the brotherly love.
Yeah.
My name is not Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
I didn't set in this thing to kill people. I never set out to be a killer. Did I hurt people? I've hurt a few people along the way that I beat to a pulp. I did because they stole from me. One guy took a boat with 10, 15, $20 million worth of product. I can't have that kind of stuff. I put him in a house and I beat him to a pulp. And then I told him, I said, I have to let the people believe that you're dead. So move. Move out of the state of Florida, go to some other remote part of the world. If I ever see you on a sidewalk, I'm going to finish where I started. And if you see this, I have a cut here. You see that? And I talked about that in Jonathan's podcast. I grabbed a bottle of champagne, I broke it, I cut my own hand, and I made him drink my blood. I told him, I said, you have no backbone. I'm going to put a little backbone into your spine. And I have 4 or 5 guys that are watching him there the whole week that I kept them in the house. And they're like, oh my God, this is really gory, Tito. There's a lot of drama that went with it, But that's what I wanted to create. I wanted to create that drama because this guy's going to live. He's going to move out of the state, but everybody's going to think that he's either dead or I beat him to a pulp. And I like for 2 days. Jack took me to the hospital 2 days later.
Okay, so Jack gets popped with 20 keys.
20,
and then
30, 40, whatever. It was a small amount of coke.
And then he turns around and starts talking about you guys.
When I find out that he gets popped, I get word right away. So I put money in his account, in his operating account. I give money to his lawyer. I don't go one-on-one with Jack. So I hired a lawyer that I hired another lawyer to, again, separate me. So I put a lot of money in there, thousands of dollars. I go see his wife, girlfriend, and I put a bunch of money on her. And I told her, I said, whatever you want to do. You want to go back to school? You want me to buy you a title? I'll make you a doctor overnight. I've got enough money to make anything happen. You don't have to worry about anything. Don't worry about Jack. I'm going to get him out of prison. So my plan was to bust him out of prison, whether with a helicopter, depending on where he was going to go. I would get him out, take him out of the country, which I've done that before. I've taken people out of the country to another foreign country, and where they can't get extradited. So Brazil at the time, if you married a Brazilian girl, there was no extradition. So my plan was to take Jack to Brazil, install him there, and then, Jack, you get a paycheck every month, man. Life is going to be great. You get to party and do all the crazy stuff that you normally do.
And the unspoken agreement there is you don't tell on us.
You don't tell.
Right.
You don't tell.
Okay. So
you don't rat your brother out. It's one for all and all for one.
Okay. Go on.
So Jack goes ahead and, he plays ball at the beginning. He's taking the money from my lawyers or the wife. Somewhere along the line, I guess they scared the hell out of Jack, and the feds have a way of doing that. And then Jack folded. And then my lawyer called me up and he said, Tito, we got a problem. I said, what's the problem? He said, Jack took me off. He doesn't want me to represent him. That was an immediate, I got a major problem. Now his lawyer is really the prosecutor. So Jack decides to turn on me. So now Jack starts to cooperate. Well, Jack knows everything about me. So shortly after that, Jack was seen in the airport pointing out airplanes. So I took those airplanes and I moved them. I bought another airplane, okay? And then instead of doing my route was Miami, Colombia, Bahama, Miami. Now I did something different. I bought another airplane. I sent it to Colombia. I kept that airplane in Colombia, bought a local Colombian airplane with numbers of Colombia, and numbers Colombia. Hotel Kilo is the identification call numbers for Colombia. So now I had met an airline pilot. That's another story. It's great. Met another airline pilot that they were only making like $20,000, $30,000 a year. So he started flying from me. So now instead of going Miami, Colombia, Bahama, United States, now I'm going Colombia, Bahama, Colombia, no United States. A pilot that doesn't basically speak English, doesn't really know where I live. I met him down there,
Mhm.
befriended him. Now he maintains that airplane. I'm giving him like $50,000 for a trip. He's
Okay.
in heaven.
Right.
And now what's happening now is actually good because now Jack is pointing out all my equipment. Well, there's Gigi, his pride and joy, the gray ghost. Okay, I'm going to put Gigi up in the air this week. So now Gigi's up in the air, and these guys are following Gigi around. They're, hanging off of trees. We're looking at this. And it's so funny because I'm laughing. The more they look, the less they see.
Right.
They're looking, but I'm over here. Kind of like the version of a magician type thing. I'm flying another airplane that you guys have no knowledge, and I'm not leaving from the United States. I'm originating from Colombia.
And they must be looking into your financials. All of your companies are
Who brings
legit.
me down is actually not DEA, not Customs. Who brings me down is Criminal Division of the IRS.
Yep.
Those are the Gestapos.
Right.
Before Homeland Security, the most feared agency, not ATF, not FBI, IRS, Criminal Division. There's two. There's the civil and the criminal.
Yeah.
Those guys are bloodhounds. Those are the guys that bring Al Capone down.
Those are the paperwork guys.
Yeah,
Those
hey,
are the
man,
guys that go through
2.5 years they followed me.
2.5 years looking into your bank
Into
accounts.
everything that I was doing. Listen, I'm having dinner at Casa Juancho, a very high-end restaurant in Miami. They're sitting over there. I'm over here. I walk out to my limo. My limo driver says to me, T, I got something to tell you. I said, go ahead, tell me, man, what is it? Now, he doesn't know that I'm a smuggler, right? So he goes, I don't know how to tell you, but I had these two guys approach me. I said, go ahead, tell me, what is it? He said, they wanted me to wear a wire on you, and they offered me $25,000 to wear a wire on you and to stand next to you when you were having meetings and so forth. I said, really? I acted like BS, right? Pulled a business card from his pocket. It was an agent, it was a custom agent. And he wrote down $25,000 in cash in the back of the card. He showed me, this is the guy's card. Well, what little the agent didn't know was that I bought that guy's house. So his loyalty was pledged to me. 25 was not enough. So I had to contend with that every day.
Right.
Now what I did was I had a friend of mine that repaired electronic, I had the phone business and the beeper business. Well, there was a company over here that was an electronic high-end store of repairs. High-end, the guy had government contracts, okay? The guy's name was Gene. Gene would call me up, hey, T, you need to come down here and see what these guys are doing. So I go down there, and you see this thing? It's like a little box about that big. Now we probably get it in a spy store. But at the time, I paid 30 grand for this thing. It's half the size of a pack of cigarettes, right? And you drop it in your pocket, and it had 3 lights on top. And it's like a scanner, a sensor. And you can adjust the 5-foot diameter. If somebody is honing in like a parabolic type of antenna, it would pick up, one light would go off. An electric motor, boom, another light would go off. Any transmitting within a radius of 5 feet, the lights would light up. 1, 2, 3, or all 3 of them. Well, let me tell you, Johnny, in a couple of places, all 3 lights were up. They took guys out of prison and they brought them in front of me to talk about the old times. Guys that went to prison had nothing to do with me, but they wanted me to start a conversation with them. Hey, T, I'm out, man. Give me a job. I'm like, now all 3 lights are going off. I'm like, there's got to be something wrong with this thing. All 3 lights are off.
And so they're wired up, so you could tell in real time if I'm talking to a guy with a wire on.
I'm looking at 3 lights that are burning, and I'm saying to them, there's got to be something wrong with this thing. This can't be right. Come with me a second. I take them to the middle of the parking lot, away from any car, any radio, anything, and all 3 lights are still burning.
Yeah.
So now I know, man, they're all over me.
Yeah.
And this is how I lived for a long time. Wow. It was a nightmare.
But they couldn't get you confessing on a wire?
No, because at that point when he's talking to me about giving him a job, I let him on. I really played it up. And the guy goes, yeah, man, I need to make some money. I need a job like the old times. So I said, yeah, no problem. When did you get out? Oh, just the other day, but I need some money, man. So I say to him, all right, listen, you can start on Monday. Don't worry about clothing. I'll provide you with a uniform. Uniform? What are you talking about? I said, no, what are you talking about? I said, you're a mechanic, right? You're going to work on my car plate. But you're going to have to go to school Lamborghini and train, okay? And the guy's like, what the hell is wrong with you? I said, no, what's wrong with you? Hey, wait a second, George. Let me ask you something. Why did you go away for? Did you go away from drugs? Didn't you learn anything in there? And he goes, I'm out of here. I said, no, you're not out of here. It's my duty, my civic duty to sit here and make sure that you don't fall off the wagon, man. Sit back down.
Oh, they must have hated
They
you.
despise me.
So the government's spending hundreds of thousands, if not more, trying to pin you. Is anybody else talking in your crew besides Jack?
Great question. I knew I had a deep throat. I had the indictment 2, 3, 4 weeks before it came out. I had all the names. So I had 2, 3, 4 private detectives that were ex-military, ex-FBI, and these guys had contacts. So they were feeding me tremendous information. And then I had a friend that had a friend that his girlfriend was in my own grand jury. Imagine that. So I know I'm getting popped. The only question in my mind was, when is it going to come?
But you're still moving product this whole time that they're trying to get you. You're still bringing in stuff.
Man,
So it doesn't sound like any of your distributors got popped with a bunch of coke
none
and
of my
then
distributors did.
fingered you.
I never gave anybody up. I never.
And they never gave you up.
And then, well, they didn't get popped. So why would they give me up?
Yeah. So
by the time that I get popped, if they did get popped later on, what are they going to do?
So how was the grand jury able to indict you? I mean, that's famously like a grand jury can indict anything in the feds, but what evidence did they have on you?
One of my lawyers told me grand jury will indict a turkey
That's
sandwich.
right. That's the saying. But to actually get convicted,
they get Jack, and then they got 2 or 3 other people.
who are they?
A guy by the name of Pappy, another guy by the name of CJ.
But who were they?
Guys that I bought my hotel from.
In the Bahamas?
In the Bahamas. They were American.
Wow. How did they, and Jack knew them?
One of them was apparently had gotten into trouble and was cooperating, and then Jack knew them.
Okay.
And then that all tied together.
Right.
And they went to the grand jury. And I don't know, who else. I know that I had a deep throat somewhere in my organization. I just was never able to pinpoint who it was. And there was only 2 or 3 people that would have been that one guy. And I hated to even think. One was my own brother-in-law, who was my best friend, and he only ended up doing about maybe a month, 3 weeks in prison.
What was his involvement?
Number 2 guy, he was
Really?
he was basically
Your sister's brother?
Yeah, my brother and my ex-brother.
Your sister who had no idea what you were doing?
No, my own wife's brother. And he was my best friend. I stayed away from his sister. His sister was like beautiful. I mean, gorgeous. But I knew how bad I was, so I didn't want to ruin the friendship.
Right,
So I stayed away from him. Finally, I gave in to her beauty, and I married her.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's exactly
This
what
is a soap opera. This is a telenovela.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so he got popped, your brother-in-law?
Yeah.
What was he doing? He was your number 2. What was his function?
He held $3, $4, $5 million in his. I kept him away from any smuggling.
Okay.
His operation would be, listen, in the morning, bring me every morning 30 grand in cash. So every morning he would meet me somewhere. I didn't keep any money or anything in my home. My home was like a neutral zone.
Yeah.
And I made it very clear to everybody, because sometimes I could trust you, but I can't trust your wife or your girlfriend.
Right.
Or somewhere along the line in a party, you might say something that somebody else is going to pick up on.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it very clear, if you ever want anything from me, get it from me. If you ever want to kidnap somebody, kidnap me. You touch a member of my family, every dollar I got is going to be dedicated to turning you and everybody you know into dinosaurs here on Earth. So I don't keep any money in my home. I don't have a safe in my home. I don't have 10,000 watches in my home. So Gordon's job was to bring me what I thought. And I normally would spend about 30 grand a day, on a normal day. Hell, I probably spent about 5,000, 10,000 in just champagne alone.
Right.
A day, every day. Not to mention stuff that I gave away to people. So his job was bring me an envelope with 30 grand. And then his other job was, okay, you got to pay John, or you got to collect the money from so-and-so.
Right.
And then he would, he knew where the safe house was at. He didn't deal with it, really. Yayo and him were the only 2 people that knew where the safe house was. Jack didn't even know.
The safe house where the cocaine,
cocaine.
all the coke would be conglomerated after warehouse.
Yeah.
Right.
And then from there, it would get distributed. For example, let's say you were one of the, Colombia use their own cars, their own vehicles, right? So, and I think I said this once before in Cocaine Air with Jonathan. where they gave me the car, and then I load 200-300 kilos in a brand new car. Next thing you know, the trunk is like dragging.
Yeah.
Because you got all this concentrated weight back there.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I said, man, I got to do something about this. This is just attracting too much attention. You got one driver and the car is sagging in the back, and it's a new vehicle. So I said to the Colombians crew, bring me 1 or 2 cars a day. We're going to take care of it. What are you going to do? I'm going to take care of this problem. I'm going to show you what I do after I do it. So I put air shocks. I took the glove compartment out, and I put a little pump in the engine compartment. And in back of the glove compartment, I put a little water level, and a knob. This knob you would turn, and it would go brrr, activate the compressor, and then the air shocks would go up or down. The little level in there will indicate if the car's riding level. So you load your cocaine in the trunk of the car, put 300 kilos, 200 depending on the car, and then I go brrr, I level off the car. Now the car is driving like there's nobody in the car, and it looks the way it's supposed to look. So I did that, for all the cars. I would take that car, even though I knew the car, and you gave me the car, I would not take that car to the safe house. That car went to another house where Q had those little scanners, and we went over that whole car to make sure there was no transponder, there was no bug. I don't know what the hell you're up to. So once we swept the car and we were sure that there was no bugs in that car, then it went to the safe house. Went inside the garage and got loaded. And then I would take it to the nearest Burger King or shopping center. And then I would leave the key on top of the tire. And I'd call you up and tell you, hey, listen, your car's in such and such a location, but I'm going to drive it as least as possible. Pick it up.
So Gordon wasn't involved in touching loading the kilos
I mean,
up.
he was there the time where I get, and I think you might have heard this. If not, it was just an amazing moment. I've got, this is my beginning. Yayo brings me the first buyer, and I don't know this guy's from Jersey, Union City. And he said, I got a buyer. I said, okay, fine. So we sweep the car, we do this, and now we got the car in there. Next thing, we're separating 1,000 kilos that I just brought in from Pablo. Plus, I've got 3, 4, 5, 6 trips of my own that I haven't been able to move. The next thing I know, Yayo says to me, hey, man, we got a problem. I said, what's the problem? We're surrounded. What do you mean we're surrounded? He said, the cops, man, the feds are in the front of the house. You're bullshitting me. I say, we don't play around with that kind of stuff, Yayo. He goes, I'm not playing. He's hysterical. I see him getting more and more nervous. So I said, wait right here. I run up the stairs, a big house, big balcony in the front, French doors. So I look through the French doors. Sure enough, there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 cars, whatever, up there with the blue jackets, the yellow lettering in the back. And they got the trunks open with a shotgun, and they're prepping. I said, holy Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's not kidding. I run back down. I say, yeah, you're right. So I said, let me see where else they're at. I go to the back of the house. I don't see anybody. I go to each side. I don't see anybody else. Yayo grabs an Uzi, because we do have automatic weapons for protection. People that, back in those
home
days,
invasions.
they're rip-off.
Yeah.
They're very common to get ripped off. Home invasions, they used to call them. So Yayo says, Yayo left from prison, Mario Boatlift. He said, I'm not going back to jail. Bob, they're going to have to kill me. I say, calm down. Grabs the Uzi, goes ahead and loads the darn thing, takes the safety off here, put the damn gun down. I'm not going out there. I'm not going back to jail, T. I don't care about you, but I'm not going. They're going to have to shoot me. So we're screaming at each other, right? And I say, obviously, you're the problem. He goes, what do you mean me? I said, well, I know it's not my brother-in-law because he talks to nobody. You brought this buyer, so the problem's going to be your buyer. He's the problem. No, he's not. So we're arguing amongst each other. I said, I put the goddamn gun down. So I can't take it anymore. I'm going to go out I'm going out the house. So the house had a wind wall, and the garage faced the side. It didn't face the front of the house. So I grabbed the broom, opened the garage door, and I start sweeping, pretending that I'm just visible, and I'm sweeping the floor. I'm not really looking that way, but I'm looking that way from peripheral vision of my eye, corner of my eye. And I hear the screaming from one of the agents, hey, you over there, really loud. So I turn around and I go, who, me? I put my hand on my chest. And he goes, yeah, you get back in the house. So I said, why? And he says, we got an armed fugitive across the street from your home right here. Get back in that house. I say, yes, sir. I walked into the house. I said, Yayo, put the gun down. We're not counting anymore. We're not doing any delivery. We're drinking beer. What do you mean? I said, celebrating, buddy. They're not here for us. They're here for across the street.
Wow.
Yeah.
Miami in the 80s.
Miami.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
crazy.
how did Gordon get picked up by the feds? He's your money man.
Yeah, because what happened was Jack for 2.5 years, if he had a notion that my two Doberman and my mountain lion had any knowledge of what I was doing, he was giving them up. So that's where, again, isolating my family came in. So he gave up everybody that he could think of.
Okay.
And then the feds, they throw a noose around everybody. We'll sort them out later.
Right.
And then they picked up Jack. And then Gordon was an intricate part of the organization. Because he was my money guy that I kept with him. He kept with him about $5 million in cash and slush money in the event that it was an emergency.
Yeah.
That I couldn't get to the money in Europe, or I couldn't touch money in the bank, and I needed large money to buy somebody out or pay off somebody in the islands or whatever. So Gordon had access to everything. He knew more than me, let's say. Yeah. Because he had the tabs on how much money was coming, kept books. He knew the cocaine trips.
So it's out of a movie. They squeezed him and he gave it all up.
Yeah, that's what he did about 4 weeks. We all get arrested on the same day.
What year was that?
1988, April 14th.
Okay.
And my bond hearing, if you know anything about bond hearing, they're half hour, an hour. Mine went 3 days. Yeah.
Wow.
They said unlimited funds, worldwide contacts, $10 million would be like drinking a cup of coffee. Yeah. No bond.
So they can give you a bond.
Never.
How did they charge you with RICO running
RICO
or the
like,
CCE?
Not too many people know the CCE.
So that's the Kingpin Act. So they had enough to charge you with everything the IRS had dug up as the Kingpin?
I got indicted in Florida, Central, South, Georgia. They gave me a pass on that. New York, Detroit, the Bahamas. I got indicted in the Bahamas. They fly me to the Bahamas also. So the one prosecutor, like I said earlier, he said, "I'll dot you over every state you flew over." I said, so I don't give a damn. He said, "Oh, you don't care if I give you another life?" I said, "Listen, man, I don't believe in reincarnation. I've only got one life to give. So I don't give a damn how many times you indict me."
Okay, so are they trying to get you to flip? Are they trying to give up get you to give up your contacts in Medellin?
Well, it's simple. If I would have flipped, F. Lee Bailey was my first lawyer, along with a lot of other lawyers when I was free. When I told you that I already had the indictment, I hired F. Lee Bailey from the street. And I told him, I said, the crap's going to hit the fan. I'm going to get indicted for smuggling. You need F. Lee Bailey. He patted his chest like that. I said, okay, listen, I'm going to give you the money that you won. I'm going to tell you something. When the shit hits the fan, don't send me some generic lawyer. I want to see you there. Like, I'm not paying you monopoly money. Yeah. You're going to need it. And he beats his chest again. So the crap did hit the fan. He didn't show up. And then he shows up like a week, 2 weeks later. And then he says, I got a deal worked out. You're going to do 18 months and you go home. I said, 18 months? It didn't even sound realistic. He says, I talked to the prosecutor. We got a deal worked out. You're going to have to flip on everybody. I said, what does flip mean? I didn't know the term because I was never around jail lifestyle, right? Nobody I knew had gone to jail except Peter, and I don't know what that was like in Cuba. So he says, you're going to have to roll on everybody. I said, roll? Start defining that to me. He says, cooperate. Give all your co-defendants and the people down in Colombia. I said, I give you all that money for that? I don't need you for that. Yeah. I said, I can't do that. He says, well, if you don't do that, I can't defend you. I said, well, why didn't you tell me that before when you were in the street and you beat your chest and you said F. Lee Bailey? He said, well, listen, man, I can't defend this case. Got too many co-defendants and they're all going to flip. So I said, I'm going to leave you with one thought, Lee. I bent forward and I said, buy a remote control to start your car up every effing morning if you don't give me my money back. I got nothing else to say to you, Lee. Oh, yeah, footnote. All my Colombians are out there. Have a good day. And I walked out the office. I was in prison that I told them that. And I went through a truckload of lawyers. Yeah, of course. Because they were all telling me what I wanted to hear. Yeah. They're the biggest thieves. Of course. But every once in a while, it's like the prince, you kiss a frog, it's real. And I came across one guy that I just have to give kudos to, Fred Shorts. I'm free because of him. Okay, so then how did it
how did it conclude? Because you didn't have to flip on,
No, I had
any
to
Colombians.
cooperate, but that was after everybody went home. I'm the last guy holding the pillar here.
Okay, how did everybody go home?
Just sign here. Gordon, who was like my number 2 guy, no amount of money could, you guys can't meet. Oh, don't worry about the bond. Just sign here. Self bond. I bought him a multi-million-dollar house with nothing but cocaine money, kept everything. Nobody lost anything. I'm the only guy that had to give up the assets. 30-something airplanes, 100 and something houses. It's just too many things to remember.
How much?
All my cars, the
Ferrari,
dealerships.
the dealership.
I mean, the property I owned was, I think a buddy of mine, I was in prison when it sold, and they had a little sending off party. How about that? They were going to tear it down, put up high rises, and they went and toasted champagne, and a few of my car guys.
Did you have to give up your bank accounts?
I have to give up everything. Bank
Everything
accounts,
in the Switzerland?
Switzerland. If I had a Lamborghini or a Chevrolet or a station wagon in a warehouse, I had... The deal that I signed with the feds was so one-sided, I didn't want to sign it. I didn't want to sign it because it was all one way. It was, if we catch you in one lie, the deal's off.
Yeah.
And back in those days, you're obviously very well versed in the law. I don't know just to what detail, but back in those days, the law changed in 1988. 87 law and 86 law, you got a 10-year sentence, Johnny. You did 18 months in prison.
Right, you could parole out of the feds. Yeah, there's no parole.
And there was no
after.
guidelines. So you know what infinity was? Infinity meaning trillion, zillion kilos. 5 kilos or more hit the infinity. Recommended sentence, 10 years. 10 years.
Yeah.
So I was indicted under the old law.
Right.
So in a way, Jack did me a favor. Had I kept on working and been indicted under the new law, the new law 848 CCE starts at life.
Yeah.
Life. It's an automatic life sentence.
Yeah, it's mandatory minimum.
Yeah,
so you got popped before
Old
mandatory minimum.
Right. Even though I get popped in 88, but they couldn't prove anything current.
I see.
Because Jack didn't really know that I had an airplane over there.
Right. He didn't know you were still working.
Exactly. Listen,
okay, so
I will admit to one thing here in front of you. The day I got popped, I had 1,000 kilos in the island that I did lose those. Yeah.
It's the only load you ever lost.
Yeah, but I never talk about it because that would give me new law.
Yeah. Wow. So you had to basically, it was a whole asset forfeiture, but what about cooperation?
Yes, I had to cooperate. My cooperation was not telling them about Jack. Jack couldn't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
And Gordon is already home. Everybody's home. They cop deals. So everybody in my indictment is home, including Detroit, everywhere.
What about Tito?
Who? Yayo?
Yeah, Yayo.
Yayo Yayo was really lucky. Yayo calls my house the day that I got, 100 agents in my home, and my 18-year-old wife, girlfriend / later on wife, she's wonderful. She picks up the phone and she goes, Tito can't come to the phone. There's a whole bunch of federal agents here. He's handcuffed. Click. He disappeared.
Yayo split.
He disappeared. And then I found out through the grapevine that he got in trouble on something else. And, but Yayo split.
Wow. So he never went down in that whole thing.
Not with my indictment, not with anything to do with me.
Okay, but what about cooperating on people outside of your crew? I mean, cooperating against your suppliers, the Bahamians in the Bahamas.
None of that stuff.
And they didn't insist on it.
No, really what it seemed to me that they were really after, Johnny, I mean, I'll be damned if you do and damned if you don't. If I didn't have the money that I had, I don't think these guys would have bothered me. Because it wasn't, I mean, they already knew Pablo was, Pablo.
Yeah, what are you going to say about Pablo?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, what can I possibly add to that story, right?
Yeah.
So there was nothing really that I could really bring new stuff.
So you didn't tell on anyone except yourself?
Myself, and I had to agree to everything that Jack had said.
Yeah.
Which is, my indictment is 57 counts, is this thick.
Yeah.
And if you read it, I wish I would have brought it. It says, blah, blah, Tito this, Tito that. Tito's always there.
Yeah.
Flip the pages, another 700. And they didn't use 1,000. They used my 700 base because Jack knew that. I said, how much, what are we carrying? I said, we're carrying 700. Why 700? What did I figure? I said, because that's the figure that I used based on the logic that I used, you know. Before that, we were flying for Luis. And when I get kidnapped, which I think, I get kidnapped. And then when I get kidnapped and I need to pay off $800,000, I didn't have the 800,000. I go sell Gigi to Luis, the guy that I talked about earlier. Now, Luis was a major player. He was a shaker and a mover. I was making $1 million with Luis, flying cocaine for Luis, doing 450, 500 kilos. And I didn't really care what it was. Put it back there, and I'm flying it, and I'm getting $1 million. I don't have to bring it to the States. My responsibility ended when I landed in the Bahamas. And then I just come over here and cash out $1 million.
Yeah.
That's how I ended up meeting Pablo, because
Of course.
I built that reputation.
So you didn't have to give up Luis. You didn't have to. Did Colombia find out? Did Pablo and
Yes,
they
Pablo
found out what happened to you?
Yeah, of course. And then about the first week that I was in prison, maybe not even a week. I don't know the exact calendar date, but they sent me a private detective, Colombian, and an American lawyer. American lawyer brought in the private detective, and they were in prison. They called me out, and I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm a lawyer, blah, blah, blah." And I ain't gonna call you up. I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And then the other guy starts identifying themselves. We're, representing interested party from down south. And I said, tell me a little bit about him. What's his house look like? Or what about what's in the front door? I started asking some kind of questions, He had the right answers, the detective.
Yeah.
So now I know I'm talking to somebody that's real. And now they ask me, we want all of the indictments. We want the names of the ID, so they can look up the court records of what I'm doing. We want to know the agents, and we want to know everything that you're doing with the law. So I said, I'm not doing anything. He said, well, we want to know everything. So I give them everything. I give them the name of the lawyers that I had at the time. And then, is there anything that you need from us? So I said, yeah, I do have a little problem. So he said, what is it that you need from us? I said, I have 4 little problems that need to be taken care of. He said, what are the problems? I said, Jack, CJ, Happy, and I don't remember the other guy's name. I need these little 4 problems taken care of. Now, I don't have to tell Pablo how to take care of these problems. So they asked me, where are they? I said, Jack is probably in a camp playing golf somewhere. So, how they treat these rats, And I said, but you guys have your sources. Find out where they're at. I said, I need these problems taken care of. So I go away. Meanwhile, all this is going on. I'm buying a helicopter to escape prison.
Okay. Hang on for a second. Hang on, because this doesn't make any sense to me.
Go ahead.
You've proffered everybody.
Oh, no, this is before.
This is while you're sitting in jail.
If you remember, when they sent me, the detective was the first week of being in prison.
Okay, so you're in the Miami-Dade federal holding downtown.
Right.
Got it. So, okay, understood.
Now,
so
cooperating came way at the end.
Okay, so you're ready to have Jack and everybody that's Gordon too? Did you give him Gordon's information?
No, I didn't think Gordon at that point.
Okay.
It was the first week of being in prison.
I see. So you're going to have these guys killed. You're going to have Medellin take care of them.
It's an ugly word, but yeah.
Okay.
These are the guys that created the indictments.
Yeah. Understood. You don't have to justify it. I just want people to be clear.
Yeah. The guys that created the indictment, that were out there from the free world, that had nothing to do with what we're doing, those are the problems.
Okay.
And if those guys went away, at the very, very beginning, when we first got indicted, and I say we because I was with a bunch of guys, I held everybody together. I was the nucleus. You need a lawyer, I pay for your lawyer. You need money, here's some money for your wife. Now, and we walked together. We hung out together. We sat around in a circle together. I held everybody tight. Nobody's cooperating.
Right.
Now I have a bond hearing. I see in the bond hearing that this is a kangaroo court. I mean, they lied, outright lied. If I told you some of the things that they did, you wouldn't believe me. Outright lied on the stands.
Yeah.
Where you swear.
Yeah.
Agents
the witnesses.
There were agents that swore up and down, and they were just lying.
Yeah.
I had proof, and I was able to bring proof to the court.
Mm-hmm.
Where they were playing baseball with a guy, and the guy that went to school with me, and the agent said, we're going to lock his up and throw the goddamn key away. And they come and they take one of my airplanes away from me before I even get arrested. So I'm able to prove all of that I had knowledge. They still didn't give me bond. So then that's when I realized I better make another arrangement.
Yeah.
My philosophy was, I'm going to buy a helicopter, I'm going to escape, leave, and then
And was that an option back then? Escaping from the Miami-Dade federal?
No, I was in open ground like this.
Oh wow! So you're going to chop her in?
Yeah.
And you really thought that could work?
Man, let me tell you, if I made one mistake. It was a perfect plan. I was only using the chopper to jump over the fence. Okay, I hired the pilot. I bought the chopper, all from in prison. Okay, now he's coming over. I'm sending the pilot information. Don't get nervous. This is not a movie. Put the chopper down. I'm not jumping off a roof. Okay, I'm not gonna jump in there. They're not gonna shoot at you because they don't know if I have a hostage of your family member. So it's okay. Now the money I'm gonna pay you, if you break it down, maximum that you can get, because that will be new law, would be 5 years. So out of the 5 years, you do maybe 4. You go to maybe not a camp, but the money I'm gonna pay you, if you break it down annually, you're gonna be well compensated. So I want you to think that you are gonna get popped, so you're not scared.
Right.
All right. So having that mentality and have all this I put together a beautiful plan. He's gonna fly over. He flies over twice over the prison. Now the mistake I made, I had room for one guy. One guy's name was John Chaney. John Chaney was an actual hitter, a real professional killer. He hired out to the mob and this and that. And he was my weed buyer, who became almost like a partner, because every ounce of pot that I brought in, he would buy. Right. And I didn't have to question anything. It was wonderful. Had a contact with the Hells Angels. Remember those? Not the Hells Angels, the Outlaws. And they were my customers, for the weed back in those days. So and he had 57 priors, all violent, murders, and intimidating people. They dropped the case. So I said to John, I can't take everybody, but I could take you. What are you talking about, T? I said, I bought a chopper. He's going to come by at 3 o'clock and fly over and pick the spot. Are you shitting me? I said, no, I'm dead serious. I don't care about stuff like this. So he goes, are you really going to do it? I said, watch, be with me here. My chopper comes over. He sees that it's real. My chopper's picking the spot to pick me up and land, because we got clearings. Now we got gun towers, but they're not going to shoot. They're going to shoot at me. So we're going to try to hide me from getting shot by the gun tower. Chopper's not going to get shot. So now I do a lot of homework, and I find out the Black Hawk DEA has a helicopter in Tamiami, which is maybe 5 minutes away from the prison where I was at. And but it would take them about 5, 6, 7 minutes to get up in the air. It's not like cranking up a car, So the plan that I came up with was, you're gonna land the chopper. I'm gonna jump in there. We're gonna go and put the chopper in a lake, sink it. So while everybody's looking for a chopper's in a lake. I told him to bring a little oxygen bottle, because I don't know how long it's going to take for the blades to stop spinning. Come on, I have a car waiting for me. I now have an airplane in the same airport DEA is going to come out of Tamiami. I'm going to jump on that airplane, fly down to, they're looking for me in a helicopter. I'm going to fly down to Haiti, where my dad's old sugar mill had a landing strip that was grass.
And you guys still own that property?
No, I didn't own the property, but the property was closed.
Okay.
They shut it down.
Right.
So nobody there. But the people that control that whole area was very good friends of mine.
Yeah.
Very, very good brother. I grew up with him when I was 18 years old there in Haiti. So I sent word to him, I need help. I need fuel, and I need you to hide the plane, and I need you to hide me. So I got clearance and all of that. So we put the plan together.
And how were you able to communicate all that from jail?
2 different sources.
Got it.
I didn't trust too many people.
Right.
I trusted my girlfriend wife.
Yeah.
And she was brilliant. And then there's a lawyer too that I did trust. And I did trust. I had them for a long time.
And then where were we going to go after you were hiding out in Haiti? What was the final plan?
The final plan was 2, 3, 4 days later, a week later. I didn't have a set date on that. Let the heat calm down, and then fly to the jungles of Colombia, the lab. That's where I felt safe. I felt safe in the jungles of Colombia. I didn't even feel safe in the city.
That's where Pablo was going to go before he got out, before he got caught. He was going to go hide with the guerrillas.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go.
Okay.
That was foolproof. I made the mistake. I told John Chaney. John Chaney had flipped already. A week, man, a guy flips right away. I don't know this. He calls the prosecutor and he says, oh, and he ordered the hit on the judge, on 2, 3, 4 agents. So when I said to Pablo, I got these problems, Jack, He didn't use those names. He told them I ordered a hit on the judge that denied my bond. So now you're ordering a hit on the
He's
federal
lying.
judge.
Yeah, of course.
You know what happened? Solitary confinement, 2 years.
Oh my God. While you were waiting to get adjudicated.
I never saw anybody anymore. I didn't see the
Wow.
compound for over 2
Wow.
years. I went to solitary, no roommate, nobody in there with me.
Right.
You don't order a hit on a federal judge. You don't take that shit lightly, you know? And that's on.
But you were able to
record.
prove eventually that
It
was a lie. Okay.
It was a lie. You know, it was an outright lie, you know, and how could I prove? They wanted to believe it. The federal government wanted to believe it.
Yeah, because then they could put you away forever.
Yeah. You know.
So you were eventually able to show did they try to charge you with that stuff? Did they try to charge you with conspiracy?
That's a very good point, because in my sentencing, which lasted like 4 or 5 hours, it was crazy. I can't go into all of that because it was so long. But I will tell you what my lawyer said to the judge. He was kept in solitary 2 years, whatever it was. He said, Your Honor, he was never proven to have been true. They never formally charged my client. He said, and then he showed where cruel and unusual punishment had been awarded in the past, 3 days to 1, because of cruel and unusual punishment. You know what they would do to me, Johnny? I think the law at the time said 90 days, and then they reopened the investigation. They would take me out of solitary confinement, walk me past that door, turn me around, say, oh, under investigation again, put me right back in a goddamn hole.
Another 90 days.
Another 90 days. I think it was, I'm going to step out there and just guess at it. I think it might have been with this other guy that was the president that went to a prison. Which is
Noriega. Noriega.
No. I was in prison with Noriega, by the way. I was in the same solitary confinement with him in the building with Noriega. The president, U.S. president. I drew
a U.S. president was in the.
Yeah. Well,
wasn't in solitary confinement with you. What are you asking?
No. Recently, just whatever before Biden and all that. Oh my God, the black gentleman.
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama changed the law. He made it where after 3 or 4 times, if you can't have enough proof to charge the guy, you got to turn him loose. You
have to let him out of solitary.
Yeah, because it was just unfair, man.
Yeah, of course.
They would take you.
Of course.
And I'll be honest with you, if I fear anything from the federal government, it's just how powerful, how they could twist and spin things. And they'd rather just go ahead and put me in front of a firing squad, shoot me, man. It's a lot more humane than to sit there and every day be playing games with my mind.
Totally.
And they have that kind of power.
Yeah, so, and nowadays, if even if you escaped, if they had caught you years later and extradited you, you'd be sitting how Chapo is in Colorado. You never see the sunlight again.
That's right.
Okay, so after a couple of years, you finally proffer. You go through the system.
Well, what happens is John Chaney, who I haven't seen in a couple of years, they give me a shower every 3 days. Okay, they put me in a cage. And then, cold as hell in there, by the way, right?
Yeah.
And then you're locked in the cage. So they take the handcuffs off when you're inside the cage. And now I'm in there, I'm showering. I tell the guard who's right over there, hey, man, I'm ready to go back to my cell. You can't walk around without handcuffs in the back.
Yeah.
So the guy goes, yeah, I'll get to you when I get to you. So now he's reading some Playboy book or whatever. I'm sitting there freezing my ass off, and I see John walking by, handcuffed. And I yell, John, what are you doing in here? And he goes, what do you mean? What are you doing in here? So he said, he goes, I've been free. I've been home. I said, well, what are you doing here? He goes, I got re-indicted on something else. He got in trouble for something else. Mm-hmm. Nothing to do with me. So I said, what's going on? He goes, what's going on? I'm home. Everybody's home. They're going to give you life. I said, they're going to give me life? He goes, how do you know that? And we're screaming at each other. And then he's telling me to shut up, that I can't talk to him. I said, that's my co-defendant, man. Don't tell me. So he says, I talked to the prosecutor. He told me he's giving you life. So I used to have the warden of the place once a week visit me and look through a little glass and tell me, do the right thing. I'm the only guy that's got the key. And I'd act really stupid and I'd say, warden, what's the right thing? I know what the right thing is. Cooperate. So give them all your assets. Give them your money. Stop fighting. Cooperate with the feds. I'm the only guy that's got the key.
Right.
So I tell the guard, I want to talk to him. He goes, you can't talk to anybody. The guard says, you can't talk. Take him away. I say, listen, man, next Wednesday or whenever it is that the warden comes by and he asks me and he tells me to do the right thing, I'm going to tell him I wanted to do the right thing and you kept me from doing the right thing. He said, hang on a second. Makes a phone call. He said, put them both in the yard by a cage where I had wire in between us, but we could talk. And then I got an earful. This guy's home. This guy cooperated. He just blew up and told me everything.
Game's over.
That I was not getting from my lawyers. My lawyers said, we can beat this. We can fight. Give me another 20 grand.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So at this point, I fired all those lawyers and I hired a guy by the name of Fred Short, who was the head of the United States of America of Organized Crime Task Force. He was the head of
Formally. Yeah.
Yeah, well, 10, 15 years he was with the Fed. I didn't want to hire him before when he went private because I thought he was too close to the Fed.
Yeah.
And I don't know what if he was going to really have my best interest in heart. But at this point, I said, I got nothing else to lose. Everybody's home.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah. So he was the one that was able to spin. I had 4 people that died. To give you an idea. They said I murdered those 4 people.
Who were they?
One was a pilot, plane crash. 2 were my boat guys. Boat sank out in the middle of the ocean. One body was found eaten by sharks. It's actually on record in the Bahamas where the body was found. The boat was gone, hit a wave. And then another one got shot in the head, but nothing. And I know who shot him. And the Feds don't give a damn about that. The state that I told the guy, because the guy was a guy that I didn't, was really a bad person. He shot out of jealousy. He shot one of my guys, 2 terms in Vietnam. So I could explain everything, but they don't want to hear that. Under the new law, those 4 people, because they were working for me, I would be charged with murder under the new law. Because I put them on the boat, I put them on the airplane, I put them in the situation that was dangerous. So I'm held responsible.
Did any of the American Airlines pilots or the private, pilots that you hired that used to be commercial pilots, did any of them get indicted, or were they just off in the wind?
1 or 2 got indicted, and they were able to beat it.
They were able to beat it?
Yeah, because no ties.
Right. But then
it was just Jack saying that he flew this. I didn't fly anything. That's why I said that if those 4 people were not involved and we would have held together, we would have beat this thing. This is all hearsay.
Yeah.
It was documented with a thing called Paris records. United States has got this thing that if you left the United States 20 years ago, it's somewhere in a computer.
Yeah.
So they got me flying out of the country for an hour, flying out of the country for 5 hours, flying, so this is where the 2 years came to play.
Yeah.
They put all these little dots and T's and they put the puzzle together. And then they went to guys like, for example, that fuel my airplane. And they go, you got a house, you want to lose your house, you want to lose your wife. We know, we're not asking you to lie, but we know that Tito did blah, 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 blah,
We just need your statement saying, he did do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
those guys got past it. They never even got indicted.
But so you hand over, I don't know, what was the net worth that you handed over to them?
I don't know. What's 32 airplanes, tons of boats, speedboats, pleasure crafts. Each boat was worth $4 or $5 million, $2-3 million.
Did you give over cash too?
Yeah, I gave the cash that I had. Gordon had $5 million. I don't know what he did with that. I'm in prison in solitary confinement working this deal. So I don't have access to, the only access I have at this point is my lawyer, that I'm telling him this and he's telling me, you make 1 slip, you're going to get life. And so I had to be honest when people say, oh, come on, you must have hidden something. You don't understand. I had to cooperate against me. The risk was too big. I have enough confidence in me to make money, but I can't make money in a 9x12.
Yeah.
That, what I was getting? A phone call, 1 phone call, 10 minutes a month.
Right.
And then when they want to play head games with you, they would say, hey, John, nobody home. Try next month. Boom. Hang up the phone.
Yeah.
So now you don't talk to anybody.
So what was your deal?
My deal.
What was your sentencing?
My sentence was a split sentence, as I said. I did 4, 2, and then I got on parole. I was put in a special division that was high-level division, which was normally, let's say that you would have a probation officer. That probation officer might have 40 people. So his workload would be, sees you maybe once a month or whatever. I had a guy that saw me every other day.
Okay, so for people I don't get it. What was your prison sentence?
I got time served.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a sweet deal.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't so sweet. I did 2-3 years in solitary confinement. I had to give up, what the IRS told me? 99 cents of your family money, 1 penny of your money, we're keeping the dollar. I bought one of my mistresses, girlfriend, whatever you want to call her. I bought her a house, paid off the house. She had nothing to do with anything. She was a girlfriend, period. Right? I give her a house. Jack said he bought this one a house. He bought this one a car. Took all that shit.
Those houses are
Yeah.
going, wow. Hundreds of millions, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And they wanted my mom's house. My mom's house was bought by my father before I was even a little kid. I wasn't even born.
But they weren't able to get that?
No, I told them, I said, well, you had a conversation at your mom's house, and so said that he overheard you having and planning a trip in the mom's house. That's enough reason, because under the word conspiracy becomes an entity. And anything that furthers the conspiracy and moves it forward becomes part of it. So the house becomes part. Had I not been in the house, I could not. So you know what I told the government? I had a conversation in the Concord, man. When are we going to seize the Concord? This is a joke. I mean, I got really bitter at times. I had an ID bracelet my mom and dad gave me when I was like 10, 12 years old. My dad was one of these old Spaniard, you know, I'm not going to say macho thing, but real men don't wear jewelry.
For sure.
You're lucky you're wearing a watch.
Yeah.
So, and then I want one, you know, we're arguing. And then my mom and dad had like Romeo and Juliet type romance. They never argue. They argued this time. My uncle got involved and he goes, let the kid have it. What's the big deal? You know, so I got it. Well, they wanted my, yeah, that's how. So when you say, what a sweet deal, yes, a sweet deal is because
the people,
I could have been doing life.
I mean, so many people are doing life for so much less weight.
Oh, how about,
you know?
I know a guy back in those days in Detroit, and that made press 1 kilo, and they gave him life.
Yeah.
Give him life for 1 kilo, first time offender.
Yeah.
The times are different. It'd be like me telling you, I still got friends of mine doing time for marijuana.
Yeah.
Well, how do you think they feel about that?
Totally.
When you can go up to a vending machine and buy the damn thing.
I know.
But I got 20 in, I'm still in.
Right.
Or I could get, you know, I could look the other way by California civil, but the feds can come in and give me 10 years. So where are we at with all this stuff?
Of course.
You know, and the lack of knowledge, or people are quick to say, oh, that son of a bitch probably gave up his own mom.
But you didn't. But your paperwork is good, so you are not a rat. You never went out ratting on other people.
Absolutely. I could walk one of the best way I could describe that. I'm in Pablo Escobar's book.
Yeah.
If I was a rat, the address on that book would be some cemetery somewhere.
Yeah, right.
So that's my big spokesperson.
And when you got out, Pablo hadn't yet been killed. Did you hear anything back from Medellin ever after you got out?
I don't remember really right now. When I know he was killed in 92 or 90
He was killed
something.
at the end of 93.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I didn't really follow that. I had too many problems going on in my world.
But you never heard back like a thank you or anything like that?
I talked to Robert when he was doing that book.
Robert, his brother.
Yeah, his brother.
Yeah.
He called me up and then we talked. And he goes, would you mind if I put you? They were asking me about what's it like in the United States.
Right.
And, you know, they wanted like an American, you know, the token type guy.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, well, before I did that, I called my sons and I said to my two boys, listen, because my mom told me when they offered me a book deal and movie and all that kind of stuff, my mom said, haven't you brought enough shame to the family?
Right.
Why do you want to keep doing this?
Yeah.
They wrote a book about your father too, a great book by the government. What is your book going to say, my son? I said, I don't know what you're talking about, Mom, no book. You know, so that buried that.
Yeah.
And then the kids got older. Mom passed away. There's no denying who I am. Because, you know, it's kind of unfair, you know, John. They judge me by a part of my life.
Right.
I'm like 70 years old, right? Here, I did a lot of other stuff, man.
For sure.
Why don't we talk about some of the other crap that I did? You know, I guess it's not interesting. So they're always judging me by that. And they hold you hostage to that. Yeah. And, you know, the only thing I could say is we live in a great country of second chances.
Yeah.
Your parents, my grandparents, they all came here looking for a second chance at life. Yeah. Whether they were prosecuted or not, I don't want to sound nostalgic or like that guy. But the truth is, all right, let's move on. Accept what I did for what I did, wrong or right. It was a choice that I made, a bad choice. But I paid dearly for that choice. Yeah. You know, I got indicted again in New York, right? When I mentioned the money thing, the judge said to me, well, you're standing in front of me. You know, you obviously didn't learn your lesson. I couldn't tell the judge that your own government people are forcing me to lie. And that's why I'm here, for upholding the truth.
And we'll talk about that on the bonus episode. We got to get out of here. But wow, Tito, TJ, that was epic. I'm honored to sit down with you.
Oh my.
And I just want everybody to know that you are, well, we're not going to plug the product. You have come out, and just like any serial entrepreneur, you have once again started to thrive in legal business.
Yes, I am.
And everybody should go listen to Cocaine Air, this podcast series that goes into a much greater detail about how you got into the business, anecdotes that'll just blow your mind.
Yeah, and even, for example, if you don't mind, you could edit this if you want, whatever. Rachel Misunderstood. She did a pretty good job with me. I feel comfortable with her.
Misunderstood. That's what the podcast is called.
Misunderstood.
Yeah.
It's her podcast. And we did like 1 hour episode.
Yeah.
And she was very nice. And like, well, Jonathan is my buddy.
Yeah.
You know, Jonathan is my buddy, and he's like my senile dog, okay?
Yeah. So go check out Cocaine Air. That's all an audio podcast. So it's on Spotify, it's on iTunes. And we're going to switch over now to the Patreon, patreon.com/TheConnect Show, to hang out with you a little more, because
Thank you.
you're like, we don't want you to leave. I've had so much fun.
Thank you very much.
An epic life in an epic era that just will never be repeated in history. And I'm honored that you sat down with me. And I know this is going to get turned into a big show. And you're a young man. You're running around and you're killing it.
I feel like I'm 17 still.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of philosophy that people should like take a piece of that and apply it to your own life. Like your faith and your will and your attitude is what allowed you to thrive illegally and now legally. So,
you know, when I was in prison, I lectured, and I've gone to a few schools, including Miami University, and I don't want to get paid for that kind of stuff at all. You know, and if I could have some kind of little impact, I tell people, you know, don't quit, you know, and set realistic goals. Don't say that you're going to be an astronaut or something. There's nothing wrong with being a landscaper guy.
Yeah.
You know, so set realistic goals. And my God, if you put the same effort you put into selling a bag of weed and getting yourself a $200 car, putting it in a street corner and putting a for sale sign on, just clean the wheels in the window.
Yeah.
Makes a big deal.
Yeah.
You'll sell it for 3 or 4.
Yeah.
You can keep that money.
That's right.
You know,
and it feels better than any drug money. I can tell you that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
This podcast money feels better than any drug money ever made.
You don't have to be doing this all the time.
Yeah.
Or worried about what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
You could go to sleep at night knowing you're going to wake up in your own bed and nobody's going to be beating your door down.
You don't have 13 strippers and a bunch of cocaine on your chest.
Yeah,
That's the only...
There's a lot to be said for that.
There's a lot to be said for that. Do not thumb your nose at that, my
Listen,
friend.
you're gonna, the feds, I don't know if you're recording now, but I got to tell you, the feds, when I come out, one of my strict probation things, you're going to take a drug class. Why drug class? Everybody knows I don't do drugs.
Never touch drugs.
Well, they put me in a drug class, right? So I'm sitting in a drug class with 13, 14 people, 20 people, I don't know, any kind of circle. And there's a psychiatrist, a psychologist over there in a chair with a pad and everything. And so over here, she goes, "Hi, my name is Betty. My drug of choice is alcohol. I started drinking when I was 11. You know, I'm like, oh, shit. So, you know, what am I going to say when it gets to me, you know? And they, "Hi, my name is Bobby." And they're all like, "Hi, my drug of choice is this and that." And I'm sitting here going, what am I going to say? Yeah. And I don't even belong here.
And they have no idea who you are.
None. So it got to me. So I said, "Hi, my name is Tito. I don't have a drug of choice, but I do have a weakness for the $100 bill." I said, "and I made a lot of money out of a lot of the people that are sitting around here. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a liar. I'm not a hypocrite." I say, "You over there, drug of choice." I said, "You need to face your own demons, because after you finish drinking, your problems are still going to be there. So stop hiding behind a drug." Or you over there, the bank robber that you said that you robbed the bank because you had, no, you're just lazy. You need to get a real job. I said, "Now, let me tell you my part. I've been with the beautifulest woman in this world. I've driven the nicest cars in this world. I've had, I don't know, too many airplanes to even bring up." I said, "Made tons of money. So I'm going to ask you something. What part of all of that you want me to feel bad about?" That's all I got to say. Face your own. And then the guy goes, I'll never forget what he said. Put his pen down and he goes, "Wow, that was brutally honest." He asked me to come back afterwards.
That's awesome.
And to talk to the class.
Tito Dominguez, go check out Cocaine Air and switch over to the Patreon for a little more chit chat. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
I'm honored.
Oh my God.
Thank
No,
you so
my
much.
honor's mine for you to have me.
Dale. Thank you
I
guys.
enjoyed it.
We'll see you over at the
Thank
Patreon. Patreon.com/The
Thank
Connect
you.
Show with Tito Dominguez.
Thank you very much.